Religion is a range of social-cultural systems, including designated behaviors and practices, morals, beliefs, worldviews, texts, sanctified places, prophecies, ethics, or organizations, that generally relate humanity to supernatural, transcendental, and spiritual elements. 1. Although there is no scholarly consensus over what precisely constitutes a religion. 2. 3. Different religions may or may not contain various elements ranging from the divine. 4. Sacredness. 5. Faith. 6. And a supernatural being or beings. 7. Religious practices may include rituals, sermons, commemoration or veneration of deities or saints, sacrifices, festivals, feasts, trances, initiations, matrimonial and funerary services, meditation, prayer, music, art, dance, or public service. Religions have sacred histories and narratives, which may be preserved in sacred texts, symbols, and holy places, that primarily aim to give life meaning. Religions may contain symbolic tales that may attempt to explain the origin of life, the universe, and other phenomena. Some followers believe these to be true stories. Traditionally, both faith and reason have been considered sources of religious beliefs. 8. There are an estimated 10,000 distinct religions worldwide. 9. Though nearly all of them have regionally based, relatively small followings. For religions, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, and Buddhism account for over 77% of the world's population, and 92% of the world either follows one of those four religions or identifies as non-religious. 10, meaning that the remaining 9,000 plus faiths account for only 8% of the population combined. The religiously unaffiliated demographic includes those who do not identify with any particular religion, atheists, and agnostics, although many in the demographic still have various religious beliefs. 11. Many world religions are also organized religions, most definitively including the Abrahamic religions Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, while others are arguably less so, in particular folk religions, indigenous religions, and some Eastern religions. A portion of the world's population, mostly located in Africa and Asia, are members of new religious movements. 12. Scholars have indicated that global religiosity may be increasing due to religious countries having generally higher birth rates. 13. The study of religion comprises a wide variety of academic disciplines, including theology, philosophy of religion, comparative religion, and social scientific studies. Theories of religion offer various explanations for its origins and workings, including the ontological foundations of religious being and belief. 14. Etymology and history of concept. The Buddha, Laozi, and Confucius, founders of Buddhism, Taoism, Taoism, and Confucianism, in a Ming Dynasty painting. Etymology. See also, History of religion. The term religion comes from both Old French and Anglo-Norman, 1200 CE, and means respect for sense of right, moral obligation, sanctity, what is sacred, reverence for the gods. 15, 16, it is ultimately derived from the Latin word religio. According to Roman philosopher Cicero, religio comes from religere, meaning again, plus lego, meaning read, where lego is in the sense of go over, choose, or consider carefully. Contrarily, some modern scholars such as Tom Harpa and Joseph Campbell have argued that religio is derived from religere, meaning again, plus ligere, bind or connect, which was made prominent by St. Augustine following the interpretation given by Lactantius in Divini Institutions. 4, 28, 17, 18. The medieval usage alternates with order in designating bonded communities like those of monastic orders. We hear of the religion of the Golden Fleece, of a knight of the religion of Aves. 19. In classic antiquity, religio broadly meant conscientiousness, sense of right, moral obligation, or duty to anything. 20. In the ancient and medieval world, the etymological Latin root religio was understood as an individual virtue of worship in mundane contexts, never as doctrine, practice, or actual source of knowledge. 21, 22. In general, religio referred to broad social obligations towards anything including family, neighbors, rulers, and even towards God. 23. Religio was most often used by the ancient Romans not in the context of a relation towards gods, but as a range of general emotions which arose from heightened attention in any mundane context such as hesitation, caution, anxiety, or fear, as well as feelings of being bound, restricted, or inhibited. 24. the term was also closely related to other terms like scrupulous, which meant very precisely, and some Roman authors related the term superstitio, which meant too much fear or anxiety or shame, to religio at times. 24. When religio came into English around the 1200s as religion, it took the meaning of life bound by monastic vows or monastic orders. 19. 23. The compartmentalized concept of religion, where religious and worldly things were separated, was not used before the 1500s. 23. The concept of religion was first used in the 1500s to distinguish the domain of the church and the domain of civil authorities. The Peace of Augsburg marks such instance. 23. Which has been described by Christian Reismid as the first step on the road toward a European system of sovereign states. 25. Roman general Julius Caesar used religio to mean obligation of an oath when discussing captured soldiers making an oath to their captors. 26. Roman naturalist Pliny the Elder used the term religio to describe the apparent respect given by elephants to the night sky. 27. Cicero used religio as being related to cultum deorum, worship of the gods. 28. Threskia. In ancient Greece, the Greek term threskia, theta rho eta sigma kappa epsilon alpha, was loosely translated into Latin as religio in late antiquity. Threskia was sparsely used in classical Greece but became more frequently used in the writings of Josephus in the 1st century CE. It was used in mundane contexts and could mean multiple things from respectful fear to excessive or harmfully distracting practices of others, to cultic practices. It was often contrasted with the Greek word disidaimonia, which meant too much fear. 29. History of the concept of the religion. See also, Timeline of religion. Religion is a modern concept. 30. The concept was invented recently in the English language and is found in texts from the 17th century due to events such as the splitting of Christendom during the Protestant Reformation and globalization in the Age of Exploration, which involved contact with numerous foreign cultures with non-European languages. 21, 22, 31. Some argue that regardless of its definition, it is not appropriate to apply the term religion to non-Western cultures. 32, 33, while some followers of various faiths rebuke using the word to describe their own belief system. 34. The concept of religion was formed in the 16th and 17th centuries. 35, 36, despite the fact that ancient sacred texts like the Bible, the Quran, and others did not have a word or even a concept of religion in the original languages, and neither did the people or the cultures in which these sacred texts were written. 37, 38, for example. There is no precise equivalent of religion in Hebrew, and Judaism does not distinguish clearly between religious, national, racial, or ethnic identities. 39, 1. Of its central concepts is halakha, meaning the walk or path, sometimes translated as law, which guides religious practice and belief and many aspects of daily life. 40. Even though the beliefs and traditions of Judaism are found in the ancient world, ancient Jews saw Jewish identity as being about an ethnic or national identity and did not entail a compulsory belief system or regulated rituals. 41. In the 1st century CE, Josephus had used the Greek term iudaismos, Judaism, as an ethnic term, and was not linked to modern abstract concepts of religion or a set of beliefs. 3. The very concept of Judaism was invented by the Christian Church. 42. And it was in the 19th century that Jews began to see their ancestral culture as a religion analogous to Christianity. 41. The Greek word threskia, which was used by Greek writers such as Herodotus and Josephus, is found in the New Testament. Threskia is sometimes translated as religion in today's translations, but the term was understood as generic worship well into the medieval period. 3. In the Quran, the Arabic word din is often translated as religion in modern translations, but up to the mid-1600s translators expressed din as law. 3. The Sanskrit word dharma, sometimes translated as religion, 43, also means law. Throughout classical South Asia, the study of law consisted of concepts such as penance through piety and ceremonial as well as practical traditions. Medieval Japan at first had a similar union between imperial law and universal or Buddha law, but these later became independent sources of power. 44, 45. Though traditions, sacred texts, and practices have existed throughout time, most cultures did not align with Western conceptions of religion since they did not separate everyday life from the sacred. In the 18th and 19th centuries, the terms Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, Confucianism, and world religions first entered the English language. 46, 47, 48, Native Americans were also thought of as not having religions and also had no word for religion in their languages either. 47, 49, no one self-identified as a Hindu or Buddhist or other similar terms before the 1800s. 50, Hindu has historically been used as a geographical, cultural, and later religious identifier for people indigenous to the Indian subcontinent. 51, 52, throughout its long history, Japan had no concept of religion since there was no corresponding Japanese word, nor anything close to its meaning, but when American warships appeared off the coast of Japan in 1853 and forced the Japanese government to sign treaties demanding, among other things, freedom of religion, the country had to contend with this idea. 53, 54. According to the philologist Max Muller in the 19th century, the root of the English word religion, the Latin religio, was originally used to mean only reverence for God or the gods, careful pondering of divine things, piety, which Cicero further derived to mean diligence. 55, 56, Muller characterized many other cultures around the world, including Egypt, Persia, and India, as having a similar power structure at this point in history. What is called ancient religion today, they would have only called law. 57. Scholars have failed to agree on a definition of religion. There are, however, two general definition systems, the sociological/functional and the phenomenological/philosophical. 58, 59, 60, 61. Modern Western. The concept of religion originated in the modern era in the West. 33. Parallel concepts are not found in many current and past cultures. There is no equivalent term for religion in many languages. 3. 23. Scholars have found it difficult to develop a consistent definition, with some giving up on the possibility of a definition. 62, 63. Others argue that regardless of its definition, it is not appropriate to apply it to non-Western cultures. 32, 33. An increasing number of scholars have expressed reservations about ever defining the essence of religion. 64. They observed that the way the concept today is used is a particularly modern construct that would not have been understood through much of history and in many cultures outside the West, or even in the West until after the Peace of Westphalia. 65. The Macmillan Encyclopedia of Religion states, the very attempt to define religion, to find some distinctive or possibly unique essence or set of qualities that distinguish the religious from the remainder of human life, is primarily a Western concern. The attempt is a natural consequence of the Western speculative, intellectualistic, and scientific disposition. It is also the product of the dominant Western religious mode, what is called the Judeo-Christian climate or, more accurately, the theistic inheritance from Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. The theistic form of belief in this tradition, even when downgraded culturally, is formative of the dichotomous Western view of religion. That is, the basic structure of theism is essentially a distinction between a transcendent deity and all else, between the Creator and His creation, between God and man. 66. The anthropologist Clifford Geertz defined religion as a system of symbols which acts to establish powerful, pervasive, and long-lasting moods and motivations in men by formulating conceptions of a general order of existence and clothing these conceptions with such an aura of factuality that the moods and motivations seem uniquely realistic. 67. Alluding perhaps to Tyler's deeper motive, Geertz remarked that, we have very little idea of how, in empirical terms, this particular miracle is accomplished. We just know that it is done, annually, weekly, daily, for some people almost hourly, and we have an enormous ethnographic literature to demonstrate it. 68. The theologian Antoine Vergote took the term supernatural simply to mean whatever transcends the powers of nature or human agency. He also emphasized the cultural reality of religion, which he defined as the entirety of the linguistic expressions, emotions and actions and signs that refer to a supernatural being or supernatural beings. 7. Peter Mandeville and Paul James intended to get away from the modernist dualisms or dichotomous understandings of immanence/transcendence, spirituality/materialism, and sacredness/secularity. They define religion as a relatively bounded system of beliefs, symbols and practices that addresses the nature of existence, and in which communion with others and otherness is lived as if it both takes in and spiritually transcends socially grounded ontologies of time, space, embodiment and knowing. 69. According to the Macmillan Encyclopedia of Religions, there is an experiential aspect to religion which can be found in almost every culture. Almost every known culture has a depth dimension in cultural experiences, towards some sort of ultimacy and transcendence that will provide norms and power for the rest of life. When more or less distinct patterns of behavior are built around this depth dimension in a culture, this structure constitutes religion in its historically recognizable form. Religion is the organization of life around the depth dimensions of experience, varied in form, completeness, and clarity in accordance with the environing culture. 70. Classical. Budez Hapshirtarov, the head shaman of the religious community Altan Surge, in Buryatia. Friedrich Schleiermacher in the late 18th century defined religion as das Schlechtenabhängigkeitsgefühl, commonly translated as the feeling of absolute dependence. 71. His contemporary George Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel disagreed thoroughly, defining religion as the divine spirit becoming conscious of himself through the finite spirit. 72. Edward Burnett Tylor defined religion in 1871 as the belief in spiritual beings. 73. He argued that narrowing the definition to mean the belief in a supreme deity or judgment after death or idolatry and so on would exclude many peoples from the category of religious, and thus has the fault of identifying religion rather with particular developments than with the deeper motive which underlies them. He also argued that the belief in spiritual beings exists in all known societies. In his book The Varieties of Religious Experience, the psychologist William James defined religion as the feelings, acts, and experiences of individual men in their solitude, so far as they apprehend themselves to stand in relation to whatever they may consider the divine. 4. By the term divine James meant any object that is godlike, whether it be a concrete deity or not. 74. To which the individual feels impelled to respond with solemnity and gravity. 75. Sociologist Emil Durkheim, in his seminal book The Elementary Forms of the Religious Life, defined religion as a unified system of beliefs and practices relative to sacred things. 5. By sacred things he meant things set apart and forbidden, beliefs and practices which unite into one single moral community called a church, all those who adhere to them. Sacred things are not, however, limited to gods or spirits. Note 1, on the contrary, a sacred thing can be a rock, a tree, a spring, a pebble, a piece of wood, a house, in a word, anything can be sacred. 76. Religious beliefs, myths, dogmas and legends are the representations that express the nature of these sacred things, and the virtues and powers which are attributed to them. 77. Echoes of James and Durkheim's definitions are to be found in the writings of, for example, Frederick Farret, who defined religion as one's way of valuing most comprehensively and intensively. 78. Similarly, for the theologian Paul Tillich, faith is the state of being ultimately concerned. 6, which is itself religion. Religion is the substance, the ground, and the depth of man's spiritual life. 79. When religion is seen in terms of sacred, divine, intensive valuing, or ultimate concern, then it is possible to understand why scientific findings and philosophical criticisms, example, those made by Richard Dawkins, do not necessarily disturb its adherents. 80. Beliefs. Main article, Religious Beliefs. Traditionally, faith, in addition to reason, has been considered a source of religious beliefs. The interplay between faith and reason, and their use as perceived support for religious beliefs, have been a subject of interest to philosophers and theologians. 8. The origin of religious belief as such is an open question, with possible explanations including awareness of individual death, a sense of community, and dreams. 81. Mythology. Main article, Mythology. A manuscript depicting the climactic Kurukshetra war in Hindu epic Mahabharata. The Mahabharata is the longest epic poem known and a key source of Hindu mythology. The word myth has several meanings. A traditional story of ostensibly historical events that serves to unfold part of the worldview of a people or explain a practice, belief, or natural phenomenon. A person or thing having only an imaginary or unverifiable existence, or a metaphor for the spiritual potentiality in the human being. 82. Ancient polytheistic religions, such as those of Greece, Rome, and Scandinavia, are usually categorized under the heading of mythology. Religions of pre-industrial peoples, or cultures in development, are similarly called myths in the anthropology of religion. The term myth can be used pejoratively by both religious and non-religious people. By defining another person's religious stories and beliefs as mythology, one implies that they are less real or true than one's own religious stories and beliefs. Joseph Campbell remarked, mythology is often thought of as other people's religions, and religion can be defined as misinterpreted mythology. 83. In sociology, however, the term myth has a non-pejorative meaning. There, myth is defined as a story that is important for the group, whether or not it is objectively or provably true. 84. Examples include the resurrection of their real-life founder Jesus, which, to Christians, explains the means by which they are freed from sin, is symbolic of the power of life over death, and is also said to be a historical event. But from a mythological outlook, whether or not the event actually occurred is unimportant. Instead, the symbolism of the death of an old life and the start of a new life is most significant. Religious believers may or may not accept such symbolic interpretations. Practices. Main articles: religious behavior and cult, religious practice. The practices of a religion may include rituals, sermons, commemoration or veneration of a deity, god or goddess, sacrifices, festivals, feasts, trances, initiations, funerary services, matrimonial services, meditation, prayer, religious music, religious art, sacred dance, public service, or other aspects of human culture. 85. Social organization. Religions have a societal basis, either as a living tradition which is carried by lay participants, or with an organized clergy, and a definition of what constitutes adherence or membership. Academic study. Main articles: religious studies and classifications of religious movements. A number of disciplines study the phenomenon of religion: theology, comparative religion, history of religion, evolutionary origin of religions, anthropology of religion, psychology of religion, including neuroscience of religion and evolutionary psychology of religion, law and religion, and sociology of religion. Daniel L. Pals mentions 8 classical theories of religion, focusing on various aspects of religion: animism and magic, by E. B. Tyler and J. G. Fraser, the psychoanalytic approach of Sigmund Freud, and further Emil Durkheim, Karl Marx, Max Weber, Mircea Eliade, E. E. Evans Pritchard, and Clifford Geertz. 86. Michael Stosberg gives an overview of contemporary theories of religion, including cognitive and biological approaches. 87. Theories. Main article: Theories of religion. Sociological and anthropological theories of religion generally attempt to explain the origin and function of religion. 88. These theories define what they present as universal characteristics of religious belief and practice. Origins and development. Main article: History of religion. The Yazilikaya sanctuary in Turkey, with the 12 gods of the underworld. The origin of religion is uncertain. There are a number of theories regarding the subsequent origins of religious practices. According to anthropologists John Monahan and Peter Just, many of the great world religions appear to have begun as revitalization movements of some sort, as the vision of a charismatic prophet fires the imaginations of people seeking a more comprehensive answer to their problems than they feel is provided by everyday beliefs. Charismatic individuals have emerged at many times and places in the world. It seems that the key to long-term success, and many movements come and go with little long-term effect, has relatively little to do with the prophets, who appear with surprising regularity, but more to do with the development of a group of supporters who are able to institutionalize the movement. 89. The development of religion has taken different forms in different cultures. Some religions place an emphasis on belief, while others emphasize practice. Some religions focus on the subjective experience of the religious individual, while others consider the activities of the religious community to be most important. Some religions claim to be universal, believing their laws and cosmology to be binding for everyone, while others are intended to be practiced only by a closely defined or localized group. In many places, religion has been associated with public institutions such as education, hospitals, the family, government, and political hierarchies. 90. Anthropologists John Monaghan and Peter Just state that, it seems apparent that one thing religion or belief helps us do is deal with problems of human life that are significant, persistent, and intolerable. One important way in which religious beliefs accomplish this is by providing a set of ideas about how and why the world is put together that allows people to accommodate anxieties and deal with misfortune. 90. Cultural system. While religion is difficult to define, one standard model of religion, used in religious studies courses, was proposed by Clifford Geertz, who simply called it a cultural system. 91. A critique of Geertz's model by Talal Asad categorized religion as an anthropological category. 92. Richard Niebuhr's, 1894-1962, Five-fold classification of the relationship between Christ and culture, however, indicates that religion and culture can be seen as two separate systems, though with some interplay. 93. Social constructionism. Main article, Social constructionism. One modern academic theory of religion, social constructionism, says that religion is a modern concept that suggests all spiritual practice and worship follows a model similar to the Abrahamic religions as an orientation system that helps to interpret reality and define human beings. 94. Among the main proponents of this theory of religion are Daniel Dubuisson, Timothy Fitzgerald, Talal Asad, and Jason Ananda Josephson. The social constructionists argue that religion is a modern concept that developed from Christianity and was then applied inappropriately to non-Western cultures. Cognitive science. Main article, Cognitive science of religion. Further information, Religion and schizophrenia. Cognitive science of religion is the study of religious thought and behavior from the perspective of the cognitive and evolutionary sciences. 95. The field employs methods and theories from a very broad range of disciplines, including cognitive psychology, evolutionary psychology, cognitive anthropology, artificial intelligence, cognitive neuroscience, neurobiology, zoology, and ethology. Scholars in this field seek to explain how human minds acquire, generate, and transmit religious thoughts, practices, and schemas by means of ordinary cognitive capacities. Hallucinations and delusions related to religious content occurs in about 60% of people with schizophrenia. While this number varies across cultures, this had led to theories about a number of influential religious phenomena and possible relation to psychotic disorders. A number of prophetic experiences are consistent with psychotic symptoms, although retrospective diagnoses are practically impossible. 96, 97, 98. Schizophrenic episodes are also experienced by people who do not have belief in gods. 99. Religious content is also common in temporal lobe epilepsy and obsessive-compulsive disorder. 100, 101. Atheistic content is also found to be common with temporal lobe epilepsy. 102. Comparativism. Main article, Comparative religion. Comparative religion is the branch of the study of religions concerned with the systematic comparison of the doctrines and practices of the world's religions. In general, the comparative study of religion yields a deeper understanding of the fundamental philosophical concerns of religion such as ethics, metaphysics, and the nature and form of salvation. Studying such material is meant to give one a richer and more sophisticated understanding of human beliefs and practices regarding the sacred, numinous, spiritual, and divine. 103. In the field of comparative religion, a common geographical classification, 104, of the main world religions includes Middle Eastern religions, including Zoroastrianism and Iranian religions, Indian religions, East Asian religions, African religions, American religions, Oceanic religions, and classical Hellenistic religions. 104. Classification. Main article, History of religion. A map of major denominations and religions of the world. In the 19th and 20th centuries, the academic practice of comparative religion divided religious belief into philosophically defined categories called world religions. Some academics studying the subject have divided religions into three broad categories. World religions, a term which refers to transcultural, international religions. Indigenous religions, which refers to smaller, culture-specific or nation-specific religious groups, and new religious movements, which refers to recently developed religions. 105. Some recent scholarship has argued that not all types of religion are necessarily separated by mutually exclusive philosophies, and furthermore that the utility of ascribing a practice to a certain philosophy, or even calling a given practice religious, rather than cultural, political, or social in nature, is limited. 106, 107, 108. The current state of psychological study about the nature of religiousness suggests that it is better to refer to religion as a largely invariant phenomenon that should be distinguished from cultural norms, i.e. religions. 109. Clarification needed. Morphological classification. Some scholars classify religions as either universal religions that seek worldwide acceptance and actively look for new converts, such as Christianity, Islam, Buddhism and Jainism, while ethnic religions are identified with a particular ethnic group and do not seek converts. 110, 111. Others reject the distinction, pointing out that all religious practices, whatever their philosophical origin, are ethnic because they come from a particular culture. 112, 113, 114. Demographic classification. A global poll in 2012 surveyed 57 countries and reported that 59% of the world's population identified as religious, 23% as not religious, 13% as convinced atheists, and also a 9% decrease in identification as religious when compared to the 2005 average from 39 countries, 116. A follow-up poll in 2015 found that 63% of the globe identified as religious, 22% as not religious, and 11% as convinced atheists. 117. On average, women are more religious than men. 118. Some people follow multiple religions or multiple religious principles at the same time, regardless of whether or not the religious principles they follow traditionally allow for syncretism. 119, 120, 121. A 2017 Pew projection suggests that Islam will overtake Christianity as the plurality religion by 2075. Unaffiliated populations are projected to drop, even when taking disaffiliation rates into account, due to differences in birth rates. 122, 123. Scholars have indicated that global religiosity may be increasing due to religious countries having higher birth rates in general. 124. Specific religions. Main article, List of religions and spiritual traditions. Abrahamic. The Patriarch Abraham, by Joseph Molnar. Abrahamic religions are monotheistic religions which believe they descend from Abraham. Judaism. Main article, Judaism. The Torah is the primary sacred text of Judaism. Judaism is the oldest Abrahamic religion, originating in the people of ancient Israel and Judah. 125. The Torah is its foundational text, and is part of the larger text known as the Tanakh or Hebrew Bible. It is supplemented by oral tradition, set down in written form in later texts such as the Midrash and the Talmud. Judaism includes a wide corpus of texts, practices, theological positions, and forms of organization. Within Judaism there are a variety of movements, most of which emerged from Rabbinic Judaism, which holds that God revealed his laws and commandments to Moses on Mount Sinai in the form of both the written and oral Torah. Historically, this assertion was challenged by various groups. The Jewish people were scattered after the destruction of the Temple in Jerusalem in 70 CE. Today there are about 13 million Jews, about 40% living in Israel and 40% in the United States. 126. The largest Jewish religious movements are Orthodox Judaism, Haredi Judaism and Modern Orthodox Judaism, Conservative Judaism and Reform Judaism. 125. Christianity. Jesus is the central figure of Christianity. Christianity is based on the life and teachings of Jesus of Nazareth, 1st century, as presented in the New Testament. 127. The Christian faith is essentially faith in Jesus as the Christ. 127. The Son of God, and as Savior and Lord. Almost all Christians believe in the Trinity, which teaches the unity of Father, Son, Jesus Christ, and Holy Spirit as three persons in one Godhead. Most Christians can describe their faith with the Nicene Creed. As the religion of Byzantine Empire in the first millennium and of Western Europe during the time of colonization, Christianity has been propagated throughout the world via missionary work. 128, 129, 130. It is the world's largest religion, with about 2.3 billion followers as of 2015. 131. The main divisions of Christianity are, according to the number of adherents, frowny face 132. The Catholic Church, led by the Bishop of Rome and the bishops worldwide in communion with him, is a communion of 24 churches sui juris, including the Latin Church and 23 Eastern Catholic churches, such as the Maronite Catholic Church. 132. Eastern Christianity, which include Eastern Orthodoxy, Oriental Orthodoxy, and the Church of the East. Protestantism, separated from the Catholic Church in the 16th century Protestant Reformation and is split into thousands of denominations. Major branches of Protestantism include Anglicanism, Baptists, Calvinism, Lutheranism, and Methodism, though each of these contain many different denominations or groups. 132. There are also smaller groups, including Restorationism, the belief that Christianity should be restored, as opposed to reformed, along the lines of what is known about the Apostolic Early Church. Latter-day Saint movement, founded by Joseph Smith in the late 1820s. Jehovah's Witnesses, founded in the late 1870s by Charles Taze Russell. Islam. Muslims circumambulating the Kaaba, the most sacred site in Islam. Islam is a monotheistic, 133, religion based on the Quran, 133, one of the holy books considered by Muslims to be revealed by God, and on the teachings, hadith, of the Islamic prophet Muhammad, a major political and religious figure of the 7th century CE. Islam is based on the unity of all religious philosophies and accepts all of the Abrahamic prophets of Judaism, Christianity and other Abrahamic religions before Muhammad. It is the most widely practiced religion of Southeast Asia, North Africa, Western Asia, and Central Asia, while Muslim-majority countries also exist in parts of South Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa, and Southeast Europe. There are also several Islamic republics, including Iran, Pakistan, Mauritania, and Afghanistan. With about 1.8 billion followers, 2015, almost a quarter of Earth's population are Muslims, 134. Sunni Islam is the largest denomination within Islam and follows the Quran, the Ahadith, plural of hadith, which record the Sunnah, whilst placing emphasis on the Sahaba. Shia Islam is the second largest denomination of Islam and its adherents believe that Ali succeeded Muhammad and further places emphasis on Muhammad's family. There are also Muslim revivalist movements such as Muwahhidism and Salafism. Other denominations of Islam include Nation of Islam, Ibadi, Sufism, Quranism, Madhavia, and non-denominational Muslims. Wahhabism is the dominant Muslim schools of thought in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Whilst Judaism, Christianity and Islam are commonly seen as the only three Abrahamic faiths, there are smaller and newer traditions which lay claim to the designation as well. 135. The Baha'i Lotus Temple in Delhi. For example, the Baha'i faith is a new religious movement that has links to the major Abrahamic religions as well as other religions, example of Eastern philosophy. Founded in 19th century Iran, it teaches the unity of all religious philosophies, 136, and accepts all of the prophets of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam as well as additional prophets, Buddha, Mahavira, including its founder Baha'u'llah. It is an offshoot of Babism. One of its divisions is the Orthodox Baha'i Faith, 137, 48-49. Even smaller regional Abrahamic groups also exist, including Samaritanism, primarily in Israel and the State of Palestine, the Rastafari movement, primarily in Jamaica, and Druze, primarily in Syria, Lebanon, and Israel. The Druze faith originally developed out of Ismailism, and it has sometimes been considered an Islamic school by some Islamic authorities, but Druze themselves do not identify as Muslims. 138, 139, 140, Mandaeism, sometimes also known as Sabianism, after the mysterious Sabians mentioned in the Quran, a name historically claimed by several religious groups, 141, is a Gnostic, monotheistic and ethnic religion, 142, 4, 143, 1 its adherents, the Mandaeans, consider John the Baptist to be their chief prophet, 142, Mandaeans are the last surviving Gnostics from antiquity, 144, East Asian. Main article, East Asian religions. East Asian religions, also known as Far Eastern religions or Taoic religions, consist of several religions of East Asia which make use of the concept of Tao, in Chinese, Du, in Japanese or Korean, or Dao, in Vietnamese. They include Taoism and Confucianism. The Temple of Heaven, a Taoist temple complex in Beijing. Taoism and Confucianism, as well as Korean, Vietnamese, and Japanese religion influenced by Chinese thought. Folk religions. Chinese folk religion, the indigenous religions of the Han Chinese, or, by metonymy, of all the populations of the Chinese cultural sphere. It includes the syncretism of Confucianism, Taoism and Buddhism, Wuism, as well as many new religious movements such as Qintao, Falun Gong and Yuguando. Other folk and new religions of East Asia and Southeast Asia such as Korean shamanism, Kondogyo, and Jungsandu in Korea, indigenous Philippine folk religions in the Philippines, Shinto, Shugendo, Ryukyuan religion, and Japanese new religions in Japan, Satsana Phi in Laos, Vietnamese folk religion, and Chao Dai, Hoa Hao in Vietnam. Indian religions. Indian religions are practiced or were founded in the Indian subcontinent. They are sometimes classified as the Dharmic religions, as they all feature Dharma, the specific law of reality and duties expected according to the religion. 145. Hinduism. The Padmanabhaswamy Temple is a significant temple of the Hindu god Vishnu in Tiruvananthapuram, India. Hinduism is also called Vaidika Dharma, the Dharma of the Vedas. 146, although many practitioners refer to their religion as Sanatana Dharma, the eternal Dharma, which refers to the idea that its origins lie beyond human history. Vaidika Dharma is a synecdoche describing the similar philosophies of Vaishnavism, Shaivism, and related groups practiced or founded in the Indian subcontinent. Concepts most of them share in common include karma, caste, reincarnation, mantras, yantras, and darsana. Note 2. Hinduism is one of the most ancient of still active religious belief systems. 147, 148, with origins perhaps as far back as prehistoric times. 149, therefore Hinduism has been called the oldest religion in the world. Jainism, taught primarily by Rishabhanatha, the founder of Ahimsa, is an ancient Indian religion that prescribes a path of nonviolence, truth and anekantavada for all forms of living beings in this universe, which helps them to eliminate all the karmas, and hence to attain freedom from the cycle of birth and death, sasra, that is, achieving nirvana. Jains are found mostly in India. According to Dundas, outside of the Jain tradition, historians date the Mahavira as about contemporaneous with the Buddha in the 5th century BCE, and accordingly the historical Parshvanatha, based on the c. 250-year gap, is placed in 8th or 7th century BCE. 150. Digambara Jainism, or skyclad, is mainly practiced in South India. Their holy books are Pravakanasara and Samyasara, written by their prophets Kundakunda and Amrachandra, as their original canon is lost. Shwetambara Jainism, or white-clad, is mainly practiced in western India. Their holy books are Jain Agamas, written by their prophet Shilabhadra. Buddhism. Wat Mikse Buddhist shrine in Vientiane, Laos. Buddhism was founded by Siddhartha Gautama in the 5th century BCE. Buddhists generally agree that Gautama aimed to help sentient beings end their suffering, dukkha, by understanding the true nature of phenomena, thereby escaping the cycle of suffering and rebirth, sasra, that is, achieving nirvana. Theravada Buddhism, which is practiced mainly in Sri Lanka and Southeast Asia alongside folk religion, shares some characteristics of Indian religions. It is based in a large collection of texts called the Pali Canon. Mahayana Buddhism, or the Great Vehicle, under which are a multitude of doctrines that became prominent in China and are still relevant in Vietnam, Korea, Japan and to a lesser extent in Europe and the United States. Mahayana Buddhism includes such disparate teachings as Zen, Pure Land, and Sakha Gakkai. Vajrayana Buddhism first appeared in India in the 3rd century CE. 151, it is currently most prominent in the Himalaya regions. 152, and extends across all of Asia. 153, cf. Mikio. Two notable new Buddhist sects are Hoa Hao and the Navayana, Dalit Buddhist movement, which were developed separately in the 20th century. Sikhism. An 1840 miniature of Guru Nanak. Sikhism is a panentheistic religion founded on the teachings of Guru Nanak and 10 successive Sikh gurus in 15th century Punjab. It is the 5th largest organized religion in the world, with approximately 30 million Sikhs. 154, 155, Sikhs are expected to embody the qualities of a Sant Sipahi, a saint soldier, have control over one's internal vices and be able to be constantly immersed in virtues clarified in the Guru Granth Sahib. The principal beliefs of Sikhi are faith in Waheguru, represented by the phrasic Akar, meaning one God, who prevails in everything, along with a praxis in which the Sikh is enjoined to engage in social reform through the pursuit of justice for all human beings. Indigenous religions or folk religions refers to a broad category of traditional religions that can be characterized by shamanism, animism and ancestor worship, where traditional means indigenous, that which is aboriginal or foundational, handed down from generation to generation. 156. These are religions that are closely associated with a particular group of people, ethnicity or tribe. They often have no formal creeds or sacred texts. 157. Some faiths are syncretic, fusing diverse religious beliefs and practices. 158. Australian Aboriginal religions. Folk religions of the Americas, Native American religions. Folk religions are often omitted as a category in surveys even in countries where they are widely practiced, example, in China. 157. Traditional African. Shango, the Orisha of fire, lightning, and thunder, in the Yoruba religion, depicted on horseback. Main article, Traditional African Religion. Further information, African Diasporic Religions. African traditional religion encompasses the traditional religious beliefs of people in Africa. In West Africa, these religions include the Akan religion, Dahomey, Fon, mythology, Efik mythology, Adonani, Sira religion, Atat Rug, and Yoruba religion, while Bushango mythology, Mbidi, Pygmy mythology, Lugbara mythology, Dinka religion, and Lotuko mythology come from Central Africa. Southern African traditions include Akamba mythology, Maasai mythology, Malagasy mythology, San religion, Lozi mythology, Tumbuka mythology, and Zulu mythology. Bantu mythology is found throughout Central, Southeast, and Southern Africa. In North Africa, these traditions include Berber and Ancient Egyptian. There are also notable African diasporic religions practiced in the Americas, such as Santeria, Candomblé, Vodun, Lukumi, Umbanda, and Makumba. Sacred Flame at the Ateshka of Baku. Iranian religions are ancient religions whose roots predate the Islamization of Greater Iran. Nowadays these religions are practiced only by minorities. Zoroastrianism is based on the teachings of Prophet Zoroaster in the 6th century BCE. Zoroastrians worship the creator Ahura Mazda. In Zoroastrianism, good and evil have distinct sources, with evil trying to destroy the creation of Mazda, and good trying to sustain it. Kurdish religions include the traditional beliefs of the Yazidi, 159, 160, Alavi, and Ali Haq. Sometimes these are labeled Yazdanism. New religious movements. The Bahá'í Faith teaches the unity of all religious philosophies, 136. Chao Dai is a syncretistic, monotheistic religion, established in Vietnam in 1926, 161. Ikankar is a pantheistic religion with the purpose of making God an everyday reality in one's life, 162. Epicureanism is a Hellenistic philosophy that is considered by many of its practitioners as a type of, sometimes non-theistic, religious identity. It has its own scriptures, a monthly feast of reason on the 20th, and considers friendship to be holy. Hindu reform movements, such as Ayavatsi, Swaminarayan faith and Ananda Marga, are examples of new religious movements within Indian religions. Japanese new religions, Shinshukyo, is a general category for a wide variety of religious movements founded in Japan since the 19th century. These movements share almost nothing in common except the place of their founding. The largest religious movements centered in Japan include Soka Gakkai, Tenrikyo, and Saicho no Ie among hundreds of smaller groups, 163. Jehovah's Witnesses, a non-Trinitarian Christian reformist movement sometimes described as millenarian, 164. Neo-Druidism is a religion promoting harmony with nature, 165, named after but not necessarily connected to the Iron Age Druids, 166. Modern pagan movements attempting to reconstruct or revive ancient pagan practices, such as Heat Henry, Hellenism, and Cometicism, 167. Noahidism is a monotheistic ideology based on the 7 laws of Noah, 168, and on their traditional interpretations within Rabbinic Judaism. Some forms of parody religion or fiction-based religion, 169, like Jediism, Pastafarianism, Dudism, Tolkien religion, 169, and others often develop their own writings, traditions, and cultural expressions, and end up behaving like traditional religions. Satanism is a broad category of religions that, for example, worship Satan as a deity, theistic Satanism, or use Satan as a symbol of carnality and earthly values, Lavean Satanism and the Satanic Temple. 170. Scientology is a movement that has been defined as a cult, a scam, a commercial business, or as a new religious movement. 177. Its mythological framework is similar to a UFO cult and includes references to aliens, but is kept secret from most followers. It charges a fee for its central activity, called auditing, so is sometimes considered a commercial enterprise. 171. 173. UFO religions in which extraterrestrial entities are an element of belief, such as Raelism, Aetherius Society, and Marshall V. and Summers's New Message from God. Unitarian Universalism is a religion characterized by support for a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, and has no accepted creed or theology. 178. Wicca is a neo-pagan religion first popularized in 1954 by British civil servant Gerald Gardner, involving the worship of a god and goddess. 179. Related aspects. The study of law and religion is a relatively new field, with several thousand scholars involved in law schools and academic departments including political science, religion, and history since 1980. 180. Scholars in the field are not only focused on strictly legal issues about religious freedom or non-establishment, but also study religions as they are qualified through judicial discourses or legal understanding of religious phenomena. Exponents look at canon law, natural law, and state law, often in a comparative perspective. 181. 182. Specialists have explored themes in Western history regarding Christianity and justice and mercy, rule and equity, and discipline and love. 183. Common topics of interest include marriage and the family. 184. And human rights. 185. Outside of Christianity, scholars have looked at law and religion links in the Muslim Middle East. 186. And pagan Rome. 187. Studies have focused on secularization. 188. 189. In particular, the issue of wearing religious symbols in public, such as headscarves that are banned in French schools, have received scholarly attention in the context of human rights and feminism. 190. Science. Main articles: Faith and Rationality, Relationship between Religion and Science, and Epistemology. Science acknowledges reason and empirical evidence, and religions include revelation, faith and sacredness, whilst also acknowledging philosophical and metaphysical explanations with regard to the study of the universe. Both science and religion are not monolithic, timeless, or static because both are complex social and cultural endeavors that have changed through time across languages and cultures. 191. The concepts of science and religion are a recent invention. The term religion emerged in the 17th century in the midst of colonization and globalization and the Protestant Reformation. 21. The term science emerged in the 19th century out of natural philosophy in the midst of attempts to narrowly define those who studied nature. Natural science, 21. 192. 193. And the phrase religion and science emerged in the 19th century due to the reification of both concepts. 21. It was in the 19th century that the terms Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, and Confucianism first emerged. 21. In the ancient and medieval world, the etymological Latin roots of both science, scientia, and religion, religio, were understood as inner qualities of the individual or virtues, never as doctrines, practices, or actual sources of knowledge. 21. In general, the scientific method gains knowledge by testing hypotheses to develop theories through elucidation of facts or evaluation by experiments, and thus only answers cosmological questions about the universe that can be observed and measured. It develops theories of the world which best fit physically observed evidence. All scientific knowledge is subject to later refinement, or even rejection, in the face of additional evidence. Scientific theories that have an overwhelming preponderance of favorable evidence are often treated as de facto verities in general parlance, such as the theories of general relativity and natural selection to explain respectively the mechanisms of gravity and evolution. Religion does not have a method per se, partly because religions emerge through time from diverse cultures, and it is an attempt to find meaning in the world, and to explain humanity's place in it and relationship to it and to any posited entities. In terms of Christian theology and ultimate truths, people rely on reason, experience, scripture, and tradition to test and gauge what they experience and what they should believe. Furthermore, religious models, understanding, and metaphors are also revisable, as are scientific models. 194. Regarding religion and science, Albert Einstein states, 1944 science can only ascertain what is, but not what should be, and outside of its domain value judgments of all kinds remain necessary. 195. Religion, on the other hand, deals only with evaluations of human thought and action. It cannot justifiably speak of facts and relationships between facts. 195. Now, even though the realms of religion and science in themselves are clearly marked off from each other, nevertheless there exist between the two strong reciprocal relationships and dependencies. Though religion may be that which determine the goals, it has, nevertheless, learned from science, in the broadest sense, what means will contribute to the attainment of the goals it has set up. 196. Morality. Many religions have value frameworks regarding personal behavior meant to guide adherents in determining between right and wrong. These include the triple gems of Jainism, Judaism's Halacha, Islam's Sharia, Catholicism's Canon Law, Buddhism's Noble Eightfold Path, and Zoroastrianism's Good Thoughts, Good Words, and Good Deeds concept, among others. 197. Religion and morality are not synonymous. While it is an almost automatic assumption, 198, in Christianity, morality can have a secular basis. The study of religion and morality can be contentious due to ethnocentric views on morality, failure to distinguish between in-group and out-group altruism, and inconsistent definitions of religiosity. Politics. Impact. Main article, Religion in Politics. Religion has had a significant impact on the political system in many countries. 199, notably, most Muslim-majority countries adopt various aspects of Sharia, the Islamic law. 200, some countries even define themselves in religious terms, such as the Islamic Republic of Iran. The Sharia thus affects up to 23% of the global population, or 1.57 billion people who are Muslims. However, religion also affects political decisions in many Western countries. For instance, in the United States, 51% of voters would be less likely to vote for a presidential candidate who did not believe in God, and only 6% more likely. 201, Christians make up 92% of members of the U.S. Congress, compared with 71% of the general public, as of 2014. At the same time, while 23% of U.S. adults are religiously unaffiliated, only one member of Congress, Kyrsten Sinema, Democrat Arizona, or 0.2% of that body, claims no religious affiliation. 202, in most European countries, however, religion has a much smaller influence on politics. 203, although it used to be much more important. For instance, same-sex marriage and abortion were illegal in many European countries until recently, following Christian, usually Catholic, doctrine. Several European leaders are atheists, example, France's former President François Hollande or Greece's Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras. In Asia, the role of religion differs widely between countries. For instance, India is still one of the most religious countries and religion still has a strong impact on politics, given that Hindu nationalists have been targeting minorities like the Muslims and the Christians, who historically, belonged to the lower castes. 204, by contrast, countries such as China or Japan are largely secular and thus religion has a much smaller impact on politics. Secularism. Main articles, Secularism and Secularization. Ranjit Singh established secular rule over Punjab in the early 19th century. Secularization is the transformation of the politics of a society from close identification with a particular religion's values and institutions toward non-religious values and secular institutions. The purpose of this is frequently modernization or protection of the population's religious diversity. Economics. Main article, Economics of Religion. Further information, Religion and Business and Wealth and Religion. Average income correlates negatively with self-defined religiosity. 116. One study has found there is a negative correlation between self-defined religiosity and the wealth of nations. 205. In other words, the richer a nation is, the less likely its inhabitants to call themselves religious, whatever this word means to them. Many people identify themselves as part of a religion, not a religion, but do not self-identify as religious. 205. Sociologist and political economist Max Weber has argued that Protestant Christian countries are wealthier because of their Protestant work ethic. 206. According to a study from 2015, Christians hold the largest amount of wealth, 55% of the total world wealth, followed by Muslims, 5.8%, Hindus, 3.3%, and Jews, 1.1%. According to the same study, it was found that adherents under the classification irreligion or other religions hold about 34.8% of the total global wealth, while making up only about 20% of the world population. See section on classification. 207. Health. Main article, Impacts of Religion on Health. Mayo Clinic researchers examined the association between religious involvement and spirituality, and physical health, mental health, health-related quality of life, and other health outcomes. 208. The authors reported that most studies have shown that religious involvement and spirituality are associated with better health outcomes, including greater longevity, coping skills, and health-related quality of life, even during terminal illness, and less anxiety, depression, and suicide. 209. The authors of a subsequent study concluded that the influence of religion on health is largely beneficial, based on a review of related literature. 210. According to academic James W. Jones, several studies have discovered positive correlations between religious belief and practice and mental and physical health and longevity. 211. An analysis of data from the 1998 U.S. General Social Survey, whilst broadly confirming that religious activity was associated with better health and well-being, also suggested that the role of different dimensions of spirituality/religiosity in health is rather more complicated. The results suggested that it may not be appropriate to generalize findings about the relationship between spirituality/religiosity and health from one form of spirituality/religiosity to another, across denominations, or to assume effects are uniform for men and women. 212. Violence. Main article, Religious Violence. See also, Islam and Violence, Christianity and Violence, and Judaism and Violence. Critics such as Hector Avalos, 213, Regina Schwartz, 214, Christopher Hitchens, 215, page needed, and Richard Dawkins, 216, page needed, have argued that religions are inherently violent and harmful to society by using violence to promote their goals, in ways that are endorsed and exploited by their leaders. Anthropologist Jack David Eller asserts that religion is not inherently violent, arguing religion and violence are clearly compatible, but they are not identical. He asserts that violence is neither essential to nor exclusive to religion and that virtually every form of religious violence has its non-religious corollary. 217, 218. Animal sacrifice. Main article, Animal sacrifice. Some, but not all, religions practice animal sacrifice, the ritual killing and offering of an animal to appease or maintain favor with a deity. It has been banned in India. 219. Superstition. Further information, superstition, magical thinking, and magic and religion. Greek and Roman pagans, who saw their relations with the gods in political and social terms, scorned the man who constantly trembled with fear at the thought of the gods, disidaimonia, as a slave might fear a cruel and capricious master. The Romans called such fear of the gods superstitio. 220. Ancient Greek historian Polybius described superstition in ancient Rome as an instrumentum regni, an instrument of maintaining the cohesion of the empire. 221. Superstition has been described as the non-rational establishment of cause and effect. 222. Religion is more complex and is often composed of social institutions and has a moral aspect. Some religions may include superstitions or make use of magical thinking. Adherents of one religion sometimes think of other religions as superstition. 223, 224. Some atheists, deists, and skeptics regard religious belief as superstition. The Roman Catholic Church considers superstition to be sinful in the sense that it denotes a lack of trust in the divine providence of God and, as such, is a violation of the first of the Ten Commandments. The Catechism of the Catholic Church states that superstition in some sense represents a perverse excess of religion, para. Number 2110. Superstition, it says, is a deviation of religious feeling and of the practices this feeling imposes. It can even affect the worship we offer the true God, example, when one attributes an importance in some way magical to certain practices otherwise lawful or necessary. To attribute the efficacy of prayers or of sacramental signs to their mere external performance, apart from the interior dispositions that they demand, is to fall into superstition. Cf. Matthew 23 verses 16 to 22 inch, para. Number 2111. Agnosticism and atheism. Main articles, Atheism, Agnosticism, Irreligion, Anti-religion, and Humanism. See also, Criticism of atheism. The terms atheist, lack of belief in any gods, and agnostic, belief in the unknowability of the existence of gods, though specifically contrary to theistic, example, Christian, Jewish, and Muslim, religious teachings, do not by definition mean the opposite of religious. There are religions, including Buddhism, Taoism, and Hinduism, in fact, that classify some of their followers as agnostic, atheistic, or non-theistic. The true opposite of religious is the word irreligious. Irreligion describes an absence of any religion, anti-religion describes an active opposition or aversion toward religions in general. Interfaith cooperation. Main article, Interfaith dialogue. Because religion continues to be recognized in Western thought as a universal impulse. 225, many religious practitioners, who, 226, have aimed to band together in interfaith dialogue, cooperation, and religious peace-building. The first major dialogue was the Parliament of the World's Religions at the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, which affirmed universal values and recognition of the diversity of practices among different cultures. 227, the 20th century has been especially fruitful in use of interfaith dialogue as a means of solving ethnic, political, or even religious conflict, with Christian, Jewish reconciliation representing a complete reverse in the attitudes of many Christian communities towards Jews. 228. Recent interfaith initiatives include A Common Word, launched in 2007 and focused on bringing Muslim and Christian leaders together. 229, the C1 World Dialogue, 230, the Common Ground Initiative between Islam and Buddhism. 231, and a United Nations-sponsored World Interfaith Harmony Week. 232, 233. Culture and religion have usually been seen as closely related. 43. Paul Tillich looked at religion as the soul of culture and culture as the form or framework of religion. 234, in his own words. Religion as ultimate concern is the meaning-giving substance of culture, and culture is the totality of forms in which the basic concern of religion expresses itself. In abbreviation, religion is the substance of culture, culture is the form of religion. Such a consideration definitely prevents the establishment of a dualism of religion and culture. Every religious act, not only in organized religion, but also in the most intimate movement of the soul, is culturally formed. 235. Ernst Troeltsch, similarly, looked at culture as the soil of religion and thought that, therefore, transplanting a religion from its original culture to a foreign culture would actually kill it in the same manner that transplanting a plant from its natural soil to an alien soil would kill it. 236. However, there have been many attempts in the modern pluralistic situation to distinguish culture from religion. 237. Dominic Marbaniang has argued that elements grounded on beliefs of a metaphysical nature, religious, are distinct from elements grounded on nature and the natural, cultural. For instance, language, with its grammar, is a cultural element while sacralization of language in which a particular religious scripture is written is more often a religious practice. The same applies to music and the arts. 238. Criticism. Main article, Criticism of Religion. Criticism of religion is criticism of the ideas, the truth, or the practice of religion, including its political and social implications. 239. See also. Icon Religion Portal. Index of religion-related articles. Cosmogony. Life stance. List of foods with religious symbolism. List of religion-related awards. List of religious texts. Matriarchal religion. Museum of the History of Religion. Non-theistic religions. Outline of religion. Parody religions. Priest. Religion and happiness. Religious conversion. Religious discrimination. Social conditioning. Socialization. Theocracy. Theology of religions. Why there is anything at all. Notes. That is how, according to Durkheim, Buddhism is a religion. In Default of Gods, Buddhism admits the existence of sacred things, namely, the Four Noble Truths and the practices derived from them. Durkheim 1915. Hinduism is variously defined as a religion, set of religious beliefs and practices, religious tradition, etc. For a discussion on the topic, see Establishing the Boundaries in Gavin Flood, 2003, pages 1-17. René Guénon in his Introduction to the Study of the Hindu Doctrines, 1921 edition, Sophia Perennis, ISBN 0-900588-74-8, proposes a definition of the term religion and a discussion of its relevance, or lack of, to Hindu doctrines, Part 2, Chapter 4, page 58. Philosophy, love of wisdom in ancient Greek, is a systematic study of general and fundamental questions concerning topics like existence, reason, knowledge, value, mind, and language. It is a rational and critical inquiry that reflects on its own methods and assumptions. Historically, many of the individual sciences, like physics and psychology, formed part of philosophy. But they are considered separate academic disciplines in the modern sense of the term. The main traditions in the history of philosophy include Western, Arabic, Persian, Indian, and Chinese philosophy. Western philosophy originated in ancient Greece and covers a wide area of philosophical subfields. A central topic in Arabic-Persian philosophy is the relation between reason and revelation. Indian philosophy combines the spiritual problem of how to reach enlightenment with the exploration of the nature of reality and the ways of arriving at knowledge. Chinese philosophy focuses on practical issues in relation to right social conduct, government, and self-cultivation. Major branches of philosophy are epistemology, ethics, logic, and metaphysics. Epistemology studies what knowledge is and how to acquire it. Ethics investigates moral principles and what constitutes right conduct. Logic is the study of correct reasoning and explores how good arguments can be distinguished from bad ones. Metaphysics examines the most general features of reality, existence, objects, and properties. Other notable subfields are aesthetics, philosophy of language, philosophy of mind, philosophy of religion, philosophy of science, philosophy of history, and political philosophy. Philosophers use a great variety of methods to arrive at philosophical knowledge. They include conceptual analysis, reliance on common sense and intuitions, use of thought experiments, analysis of ordinary language, description of experience, and critical questioning. Philosophy is related to many other fields, like the sciences, mathematics, business, law, and journalism. It provides an interdisciplinary perspective and studies their scope and fundamental concepts. It also investigates their methods and ethical implications. Etymology. The word philosophy comes from the ancient Greek words phi lambda omicron, philos, love, and sigma omicron phi alpha, Sophia, wisdom. 1, 2, 3. Some sources say that the term was coined by the Presocratic philosopher Pythagoras, but this is not certain. 4, 5. Wood engraving of Isaac Newton under an apple tree. Physics was originally part of philosophy, like Isaac Newton's observation of how gravity affects falling apples. The word entered the English language primarily from Old French and Anglo-Norman starting around 1175 CE. The French philosophy is itself a borrowing from the Latin philosophia. The term philosophy acquired the meanings of advanced study of the speculative subjects, logic, ethics, physics, and metaphysics, deep wisdom consisting of love of truth and virtuous living, profound learning as transmitted by the ancient writers, and the study of the fundamental nature of knowledge, reality, and existence, and the basic limits of human understanding. 6. 1. Before the modern age, the term philosophy was used in a wide sense. It included most forms of rational inquiry, like the individual sciences, as its subdisciplines. 1, 7, 8. For instance, natural philosophy was a major branch of philosophy. 9, 10, 11, 12. This branch of philosophy encompassed a wide range of fields, including disciplines like physics, chemistry, and biology. 1, 13. An example of this usage is the 1687 book Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica by Isaac Newton. This book referred to natural philosophy in its title, but it is today considered a book of physics. 11, 12, 14. The meaning of philosophy changed toward the end of the modern period when it acquired the more narrow meaning common today. In this new sense, the term is mainly associated with philosophical disciplines like metaphysics, epistemology, and ethics. Among other topics, it covers the rational study of reality, knowledge, and values. However, it is distinguished from other disciplines of rational inquiry like the empirical sciences and mathematics. 15. Conceptions of philosophy. General conception. The practice of philosophy is characterized by various general features. It is a form of rational inquiry. It aims to be systematic, and it tends to critically reflect on its own methods and presuppositions. 16. It requires thinking as hard and as clearly about some of the most interesting and enduring problems that human minds have ever encountered. 17. According to the 18th century philosopher Immanuel Kant, the task of philosophy is united by 4 questions. 1. What can I know? 2. What should I do? 3. What may I hope? And 4. What is the human being? His entire career, as he conceived it, was devoted to systematically addressing these 4 questions. 18, 19, 20. The theme of self-critical intellectual humility may be traced back to the origins of Western philosophy. Socrates, as depicted in Plato's dialogues, famously expresses incredulity when told by the oracle at Delphi that he is the wisest person of all. What he comes to conclude is that his wisdom consists in his knowing that he does not possess the most exalted kind of wisdom, namely, that about what is truly fine and good. 21, 22. consistent with his well-known assertion that the unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates arrives at the conclusion that the active pursuit of wisdom is good and valuable in itself, irrespective of whether one ever arrives at final definitions. 23, 24. This is consistent with the view that the kind of knowledge that philosophy seeks is not information, but understanding. 25. Confronting the unlikelihood of ever arriving at final answers to the great questions of philosophy, Bertrand Russell offers this justification for nevertheless undertaking the labor. The man who has no tincture of philosophy goes through life imprisoned in the prejudices derived from common sense, from the habitual beliefs of his age or his nation, and from convictions which have grown up in his mind without the cooperation or consent of his deliberate reason. 26, 27. This passage has been cited to advance an interpretation of philosophy as freeing us from prejudice, self-deceptive notions, and half-truths. 28. Academic definitions. Main article, Definitions of Philosophy. As a discipline, the history of philosophy aims to provide a systematic and chronological exposition of philosophical concepts and doctrines. 59, 60, 61. Some theorists see it as a part of intellectual history, but it also investigates questions not covered by intellectual history, such as whether the theories of past philosophers are true and have remained philosophically relevant. 62. The history of philosophy is primarily concerned with theories based on rational inquiry and argumentation. However, some historians understand it in a looser sense that includes myths, religious teachings, and proverbial lore. 63. The main traditions in the history of philosophy include Western, Arabic, Persian, Indian, and Chinese philosophy. Other influential philosophical traditions are Japanese philosophy, Latin American philosophy, and African philosophy. 64. Western. Main article, Western philosophy. Photo of a statue of Aristotle. Statue of Aristotle, a major figure of ancient Greek philosophy, in Aristotle's Park, Stagira. Western philosophy originated in ancient Greece in the 6th century BCE with the Presocratics. They attempted to provide rational explanations of the cosmos as a whole. 65, 66, 67. The philosophy following them was shaped by Socrates, 469 to 399 BCE, Plato, 427 to 347 BCE, and Aristotle, 384 to 322 BCE. They expanded the range of topics to questions like how people should act, how to arrive at knowledge, and what the nature of reality and mind is. 68, 69. The later part of the ancient period was marked by the emergence of philosophical movements like Epicureanism, Stoicism, Skepticism, and Neoplatonism. 70, 71, 72. The medieval period started in the 5th century CE. Its focus was on religious topics, and many thinkers used ancient philosophy to explain and further elaborate Christian doctrines. 73, 74, 75. The Renaissance period started in the 14th century and saw a renewed interest in various schools of ancient philosophy, in particular Platonism. Humanism also emerged in this period. 76. The modern period started in the 17th century. One of its central concerns was how philosophical and scientific knowledge are created. Specific importance was given to the role of reason and sensory experience. 77, 78. Many of these innovations were used in the Enlightenment movement to challenge traditional authorities. 79, 80. Various attempts to develop all-inclusive systems of philosophy were made in the 19th century, for example, by German idealism. 81. Influential developments in 20th century philosophy were the emergence and application of formal logic and the focus on the role of language, as well as pragmatism and movements in continental philosophy like phenomenology, existentialism, and postmodernism. 82, 83. The 20th century saw a rapid expansion of academic philosophy in terms of the number of philosophical publications and philosophers working at academic institutions. 82. There was also a noticeable growth in the number of female philosophers, but they still remained underrepresented. 84. Arabic, Persian. Main articles, Islamic philosophy and Iranian philosophy. Arabic Persian philosophy arose in the early 9th century CE as a response to discussions in the Islamic theological tradition. Its classical period lasted until the 12th century CE and was strongly influenced by ancient Greek philosophers. It employed their ideas to elaborate and interpret the teachings of the Quran. 85. Portrait of Avicenna on a silver vase. An Iranian portrait of Avicenna on a silver vase. He was one of the most influential philosophers of the Islamic Golden Age. Al-Kindi, 801 to 873 CE, is usually regarded as the first philosopher of this tradition. He translated and interpreted many works of Aristotle and Neoplatonists in his attempt to show that there is a harmony between reason and faith. 86, Avicenna, 980 to 1037 CE, also followed this goal and developed a comprehensive philosophical system to provide a rational understanding of reality encompassing science, religion, and mysticism. 87, 88, Al-Ghazali, 1058 to 1111 CE, was a strong critic of the idea that reason can arrive at a true understanding of reality and God. He formulated a detailed critique of philosophy and tried to assign philosophy a more limited place besides the teachings of the Quran and mystical insight. 89, following Al-Ghazali and the end of the classical period, the influence of philosophical inquiry waned. 90, 91, Mullah Sadra, 1571 to 1636 CE, is often regarded as one of the most influential philosophers of the subsequent period. 92, 93, the increasing influence of Western thought and institutions in the 19th and 20th centuries gave rise to the intellectual movement of Islamic modernism, which aims to understand the relation between traditional Islamic beliefs and modernity. 94, 95, 96. Indian. One of the distinguishing features of Indian philosophy is that it integrates the exploration of the nature of reality, the ways of arriving at knowledge, and the spiritual question of how to reach enlightenment. 97, 98. It started around 900 BCE, when the Vedas were written. They are the foundational scriptures of Hinduism and contemplate issues concerning the relation between the self and ultimate reality as well as the question of how souls are reborn based on their past actions. 99. This period also saw the emergence of non-Vedic teachings, like Buddhism and Jainism. 100, 101. Buddhism was founded by Gautama Siddhartha, 563 to 483 BCE, who challenged the Vedic idea of a permanent self and proposed a path to liberate oneself from suffering. 100, 101. Jainism was founded by Mahavira, 599 to 527 BCE, who emphasized nonviolence as well as respect toward all forms of life. 100, 102, 103. The subsequent classical period started roughly 200 BCE and was characterized by the emergence of the six orthodox schools of Hinduism: Nyaya, Vaika, Skaya, Yoga, MMA with Macron, SA with Macron, and Vedanta. 104, 105, 106. The school of Advaita Vedanta developed later in this period. It was systematized by Adi Shankara, c. 700, 750 CE, who held that everything is one and that the impression of a universe consisting of many distinct entities is an illusion. 107, 108, 109. A slightly different perspective was defended by Ramanuj, 1017 to 1137 CE, A, who founded the school of Vishishtadvaita Vedanta and argued that individual entities are real as aspects or parts of the underlying unity. 111. He also helped to popularize the Bhakti movement, which taught devotion toward the divine as a spiritual path and lasted until the 17th to 18th century CE. 112. The modern period began roughly 1800 CE and was shaped by the encounter with Western thought. 113, 114. Various philosophers tried to formulate comprehensive systems to harmonize diverse philosophical and religious teachings. For example, Swami Vivekananda, 1863 to 1902 CE, used the teachings of Advaita Vedanta to argue that all the different religions are valid paths toward the one divine. 115. Chinese. Main article, Chinese philosophy. Painting of Confucius. The teachings of Confucius on ethics and society shaped subsequent Chinese philosophy. Chinese philosophy is particularly interested in practical questions associated with right social conduct, government, and self-cultivation. 116. In competing attempts to resolve the politically turbulent 6th century BCE, many schools of thought emerged. The most prominent among them were Confucianism and Taoism. 117, 118. Confucianism was founded by Confucius, 551 to 479 BCE. It focused on different forms of moral virtues and explored how they lead to harmony in society. 119. Taoism was founded by Laozi, 6th century BCE, and examined how humans can live in harmony with nature by following the Tao or the natural order of the universe. 120. Other influential early schools of thought were Moism, which developed an early form of altruistic consequentialism, 121, 122, 123, and legalism, which emphasized the importance of a strong state and strict laws, 121, 124, 125. Buddhism was introduced to China in the 1st century CE and produced new forms of Buddhism, 126, 127, starting in the 3rd century CE, the school of Xuanxue emerged. It interpreted earlier Taoist works with a specific emphasis on metaphysical explanations, 126, 127, Neo-Confucianism developed in the 11th century CE. It systematized previous Confucian teachings and sought a metaphysical foundation of ethics, 128, 127. The modern period in Chinese philosophy began in the early 20th century and was shaped by the influence of and reactions to Western philosophy. The emergence of Chinese Marxism, which focused on class struggle, socialism, and communism, resulted in a significant transformation of the political landscape. 129. Another development was the emergence of New Confucianism, which aims to modernize and rethink Confucian teachings to explore their compatibility with democratic ideals and modern science. 130, 131, 132. Core branches. Philosophical questions can be grouped into various branches. These groupings allow philosophers to focus on a set of similar topics and interact with other thinkers who are interested in the same questions. Epistemology, ethics, logic, and metaphysics are sometimes listed as the main branches. 133, 134, 135. There are many other subfields besides them, and the different divisions are neither exhaustive nor mutually exclusive. For example, political philosophy, ethics, and aesthetics are sometimes linked under the general heading of value theory as they investigate normative or evaluative aspects. 136. Furthermore, philosophical inquiry sometimes overlaps with other disciplines in the natural and social sciences, religion, and mathematics. 137, 138. Epistemology. Main article, Epistemology. Epistemology is the branch of philosophy that studies knowledge. It is also known as theory of knowledge and aims to understand what knowledge is, how it arises, what its limits are, and what value it has. It further examines the nature of truth, belief, justification, and rationality. 139. Some of the questions addressed by epistemologists include: by what methods can one acquire knowledge, how is truth established, and can we prove causal relations? 140. Epistemology is primarily interested in declarative knowledge or knowledge of facts, like knowing that Princess Diana died in 1997. But it also investigates practical knowledge, like knowing how to ride a bicycle, and knowledge by acquaintance, like knowing a celebrity personally. 141, 142, 143. One area in epistemology is the analysis of knowledge. It assumes that declarative knowledge is a combination of different parts and attempts to identify what those parts are. An influential theory in this area claims that knowledge has three components. It is, 1, a belief that is, 2, justified, and 3, true. This theory is controversial, and the difficulties associated with it are known as the Gettier problem. 144, 145. Another area in epistemology asks how people acquire knowledge. Often discussed sources of knowledge are perception, introspection, memory, inference, and testimony. 146, 147. According to empiricists, all knowledge is based on some form of experience. Rationalists reject this view and hold that some forms of knowledge, like innate knowledge, are not acquired through experience. 148, 149, 150. The regress problem is a common issue in relation to the sources of knowledge and the justification they offer. It is based on the idea that beliefs require some kind of reason or evidence to be justified. The problem is that the source of justification may itself be in need of another source of justification. This leads to an infinite regress or circular reasoning. This idea is rejected by foundationalists, who argue that some sources can provide justification without requiring justification themselves. 151, 152. Another solution is presented by coherentists, who state that a belief is justified if it coheres with other beliefs of the person. 153. Many discussions in epistemology touch on the topic of philosophical skepticism, which raises doubts about some or all claims to knowledge. These doubts are often based on the idea that knowledge requires absolute certainty and that humans are unable to acquire it. 154, 155, 156. Ethics. Ethics, also known as moral philosophy, studies what constitutes right conduct. It is also concerned with the moral evaluation of character traits and institutions. It explores what the standards of morality are and how to live a good life. 158, 159, 160. Philosophical ethics addresses such basic questions as are moral obligations relative, which has priority, well-being or obligation, and what gives life meaning. 161. The main branches of ethics are metaethics, normative ethics, and applied ethics. Metaethics asks abstract questions about the nature and sources of morality. It analyzes the meaning of ethical concepts, like right action and obligation. It also investigates whether ethical theories can be true in an absolute sense and how to acquire knowledge of them. Normative ethics encompasses general theories of how to distinguish between right and wrong conduct. It helps guide moral decisions by examining what moral obligations and rights people have. Applied ethics studies the consequences of the general theories developed by normative ethics in specific situations, for example, in the workplace or for medical treatments. 162. Within contemporary normative ethics, consequentialism, deontology, and virtue ethics are influential schools of thought. 163, 164. Consequentialists judge actions based on their consequences. One such view is utilitarianism, which argues that actions should increase overall happiness while minimizing suffering. Deontologists judge actions based on whether they follow moral duties, like abstaining from lying or killing. According to them, what matters is that actions are in tune with those duties and not what consequences they have. Virtue theorists judge actions based on the moral character of the agent who performs them. According to this view, actions should conform to what an ideally virtuous agent would do by manifesting virtues like generosity and honesty. 163, 164, 165. Logic. Main article, Logic. Logic is the study of correct reasoning. It aims to understand how to distinguish good from bad arguments. 166, 167. It is usually divided into formal and informal logic. Formal logic uses artificial languages with a precise symbolic representation to investigate arguments. In this way, it formulates exact criteria and methods based on the structure of arguments to determine whether they are correct or incorrect. Informal logic uses nonformal criteria and standards to analyze and evaluate the correctness of arguments. It relies on additional factors such as content and context. 168. Logic examines a variety of arguments. Deductive arguments are mainly studied by formal logic. An argument is deductively valid if the truth of its premises ensures the truth of its conclusion. Deductively valid arguments follow a rule of inference, like modus ponens, which has the following logical form: P, if P then Q, therefore Q. An example is the argument today is Sunday. If today is Sunday, then I don't have to go to work today, therefore I don't have to go to work today. 169, 170, 171. The premises of non-deductive arguments also support their conclusion. However, this support is not as certain and does not guarantee that the conclusion is true. 172, 173. One form is inductive reasoning. It starts from a set of individual cases and uses generalization to arrive at a universal law governing all cases. An example is the inference that all ravens are black based on observations of many individual black ravens. 174, 175, 176. Another form is abductive reasoning. It starts from an observation and concludes that the best explanation of this observation must be true. This happens, for example, when a doctor diagnoses a disease based on the observed symptoms. 177, 178, 175. Logic also investigates incorrect forms of reasoning. They are called fallacies and are divided into formal and informal fallacies based on whether the source of the error lies only in the form of the argument or also in its content and context. 179. Metaphysics is the study of the most general features of reality, such as existence, objects and their properties, wholes and their parts, space and time, events, and causation. 180, 181, 182. There are disagreements about the precise definition of the term and its meaning has changed throughout the ages. 183. Metaphysicists attempt to answer basic questions like why is there something rather than nothing, of what does reality ultimately consist, and are humans free? 184. Metaphysics is sometimes divided into general metaphysics and specific or special metaphysics. General metaphysics investigates being as such. It examines the features that all entities have in common. Specific metaphysics is interested in different kinds of being, the features they have, and how they differ from one another. 180, 181, 185. An important area in metaphysics is ontology. Some theorists identify it with general metaphysics. Ontology investigates concepts like being, becoming, and reality. It studies the categories of being and asks what exists on the most fundamental level. 186. Another subfield of metaphysics is philosophical cosmology. It is interested in the essence of the world as a whole. It asks questions like whether the universe has a beginning and an end and whether it was created by something else. 182, 187. A key topic in metaphysics concerns the question of whether reality only consists of physical things like matter and energy. Alternative suggestions are that mental entities, like souls and experiences, and abstract entities, like numbers, exist apart from physical things. Another topic in metaphysics concerns the problem of identity. It asks questions like how much an entity can change while still remaining the same entity. 182. According to one view, entities have essential and accidental features. They can change their accidental features, but they cease to be the same entity if they lose an essential feature. 188, 189. A central distinction in metaphysics is between particulars and universals. Universals, like the color red, can exist at different locations at the same time. This is not the case for particulars, like individual persons or specific objects. 190, 191. Other metaphysical questions are whether the past fully determines the present and what implications this would have for the existence of free will. 192, 193. Other major branches. There are many additional subfields of philosophy besides its core branches. Some of the most prominent are aesthetics, philosophy of language, philosophy of mind, philosophy of religion, philosophy of science, and political philosophy. 194. Aesthetics in the philosophical sense is the field that studies the nature and appreciation of beauty and other aesthetic properties, like the sublime. 195. Although it is often treated together with the philosophy of art, aesthetics is a broader category that encompasses other aspects of experience, such as natural beauty. 196, 197. In a more general sense, aesthetics is the critical reflection on art, culture, and nature. 198, 199. A key question in aesthetics is whether beauty is an objective or mind-independent feature of entities. This view is rejected by subjectivists, who claim that beauty is not an inherent quality of objects, but depends on how people subjectively experience them. 197, 200. Aesthetic philosophers also investigate the nature of aesthetic experiences and judgments. Further topics include the essence of works of art and the processes involved in creating them. 201, 197. The philosophy of language studies the nature and function of language. It examines the concepts of meaning, reference, and truth. It aims to answer questions like how words are related to things and how language affects human thought and understanding. It is closely related to the disciplines of logic and linguistics. 202, 203, 204. The philosophy of language rose to particular prominence in the early 20th century in analytic philosophy due to the works of Freya and Russell. One of its central topics is to understand how sentences get their meaning. There are two broad theoretical camps, those emphasizing the formal truth conditions of sentences, b, and those investigating circumstances that determine when it is suitable to use a sentence, the latter of which is associated with speech act theory. 206, 207. The philosophy of mind studies the nature of mental phenomena and how they are related to the physical world. 208, 209. It aims to understand different types of conscious and unconscious mental states, like beliefs, desires, intentions, feelings, sensations, and free will. 210, 211. An influential intuition in the philosophy of mind is the distinction between an inner world of experience of an object and the existence of this object in the outer world. The mind-body problem is the problem of explaining how matter and mind are related. The main traditional responses are materialism, which assumes that matter is more fundamental, idealism, which assumes that mind is more fundamental, and dualism, which assumes that mind and matter are distinct types of entities. In contemporary philosophy, a widely accepted position is functionalism, which understands mental states in terms of the functional or causal roles they play. 212. The mind-body problem is closely related to the hard problem of consciousness, which asks how the physical brain can produce qualitatively subjective experiences. 213. 214. The philosophy of religion investigates the basic concepts, assumptions, and arguments associated with religion. It critically reflects on what religion is, how to define the divine, and whether one or more gods exist. It also includes the discussion of worldviews that reject religious doctrines. 215. Further questions addressed by the philosophy of religion are: how are we to interpret religious language, if not literally? Wink with a frown. 216. Is divine omniscience compatible with free will? Wink with a frown. 217. And are the great variety of world religions in some way compatible in spite of their apparently contradictory theological claims? 218. It includes topics from nearly all branches of philosophy. 219. 220. It differs from theology since theological debates typically take place within one religious tradition, while debates in the philosophy of religion transcend any particular set of theological assumptions. 221. 222. The philosophy of science examines the fundamental concepts, assumptions, and problems associated with science. It reflects on what science is and how to distinguish it from pseudoscience. It investigates the methods employed by scientists, how their application can result in knowledge, and on what assumptions they are based. It also studies the purpose and implications of science. 223. Some of its questions are: what counts as an adequate explanation? Wink with a frown. 224. Is a scientific law anything more than a description of a regularity? Wink with a frown. 225. And can some special sciences be explained entirely in the terms of a more general science? 226. It is a vast field that is commonly divided into the philosophy of the natural sciences and the philosophy of the social sciences, with further subdivisions for each of the individual sciences. Under these headings, how these branches are related to one another is also a question in the philosophy of science. Many of its philosophical issues overlap with the fields of metaphysics or epistemology. 227. 228. Political philosophy is the philosophical inquiry into the fundamental principles and ideas governing political systems and societies. It examines the basic concepts, assumptions, and arguments in the field of politics. It investigates the nature and purpose of government and compares its different forms. 229. It further asks under what circumstances the use of political power is legitimate, rather than a form of simple violence. 230. 231. In this regard, it is concerned with the distribution of political power, social and material goods, as well as legal rights. 232. Other topics are justice, liberty, equality, sovereignty, and nationalism. 230. Political philosophy involves a general inquiry into normative matters and differs in this respect from political science, which aims to provide empirical descriptions of actually existing states. 233. 230. Political philosophy is often treated as a subfield of ethics. 234. Influential schools of thought in political philosophy are liberalism, conservatism, socialism, and anarchism. 235. 236. Methods. Main article, Philosophical Methodology. Methods of philosophy are ways of conducting philosophical inquiry. They include techniques for arriving at philosophical knowledge and justifying philosophical claims, as well as principles used for choosing between competing theories. 237, 238, 239. A great variety of methods has been employed throughout the history of philosophy. Many of them differ significantly from the methods used in the natural sciences in that they do not use experimental data obtained through measuring equipment. 240, 241, 242. The choice of one's method usually has important implications both for how philosophical theories are constructed and for the arguments cited for or against them. 243, 244. 245. This choice is often guided by epistemological considerations about what constitutes philosophical evidence. 246, 247, 248. Methodological disagreements can cause conflicts among philosophical theories or about the answers to philosophical questions. The discovery of new methods has often had important consequences both for how philosophers conduct their research and for what claims they defend. 249, 239, 243. Some philosophers engage in most of their theorizing using one particular method while others employ a wider range of methods based on which one fits the specific problem investigated best. 250. Conceptual analysis is a common method in analytic philosophy. It aims to clarify the meaning of concepts by analyzing them into their component parts. 251, 49, 252. Another method often employed in analytic philosophy is based on common sense. It starts with commonly accepted beliefs and tries to draw unexpected conclusions from them, which it often employs in a negative sense to criticize philosophical theories that are too far removed from how the average person sees the issue. 242, 253, 254. It is similar to how ordinary language philosophy approaches philosophical questions by investigating how ordinary language is used. 239, 255, 256. Diagram depicting a trolley that is headed towards a group of people. There is an alternate track with only one person and a switch to change tracks. The trolley problem is a thought experiment that investigates the moral difference between doing and allowing harm. This issue is explored in an imaginary situation in which a person can sacrifice a single person by redirecting a trolley in order to save a group of people. 257, 258. Various methods in philosophy give particular importance to intuitions, that is, non-inferential impressions about the correctness of specific claims or general principles. 259, 260. For example, they play an important role in thought experiments, which employ counterfactual thinking to evaluate the possible consequences of an imagined situation. These anticipated consequences can then be used to confirm or refute philosophical theories. 261, 262, 263. The method of reflective equilibrium also employs intuitions. It seeks to form a coherent position on a certain issue by examining all the relevant beliefs and intuitions, some of which often have to be de-emphasized or reformulated in order to arrive at a coherent perspective. 264, 265, 266. Pragmatists stress the significance of concrete practical consequences for assessing whether a philosophical theory is true. 267, 268. According to the pragmatic maxim as formulated by Charles Sanders Peirce, the idea a person has of an object is nothing more than the totality of practical consequences they associate with this object. Pragmatists have also used this method to expose disagreements as merely verbal, that is, to show they make no genuine difference on the level of consequences. 269, 270. Phenomenologists seek knowledge of the realm of appearance and the structure of human experience. They insist upon the first-personal character of all experience and proceed by suspending theoretical judgments about the external world. This technique of phenomenological reduction is known as bracketing or epoche. The goal is to give an unbiased description of the appearances of things. 271. Relation to other fields. Philosophy is closely related to many other fields. It is sometimes understood as a metadiscipline that clarifies their nature and limits. It does this by critically examining their basic concepts, background assumptions, and methods. In this regard, it plays a key role in providing an interdisciplinary perspective. It bridges the gap between different disciplines by analyzing which concepts and problems they have in common. It shows how they overlap while also delimiting their scope. 272. Historically, philosophy is often considered the mother of all sciences since most of the individual sciences formed part of philosophy until they reached their status as autonomous disciplines. 7, 8. The influence of philosophy is felt in various fields that require difficult practical decisions. In medicine, philosophical considerations related to bioethics affect issues like whether an embryo is already a person and under what conditions abortion is morally permissible. A closely related philosophical problem is how humans should treat other animals, for example, whether it is acceptable to use non-human animals as food or for research experiments. 273, 274. 275. In relation to business and professional life, philosophy has contributed by providing ethical frameworks. They contain guidelines on which business practices are morally acceptable and cover the issue of corporate social responsibility. In the field of politics, philosophy addresses issues like how to assess whether a government policy is just. 276, 274. Philosophical inquiry is relevant to many fields that are concerned with what to believe and how to arrive at evidence for one's beliefs. 277. This is a key issue for the sciences, which have as one of their prime objectives the creation of scientific knowledge. Scientific knowledge is based on empirical evidence, but it is often not clear whether empirical observations are neutral or already include theoretical assumptions. A closely related problem is whether the available evidence is sufficient to decide between competing theories. 278, 279. In the fields of theology and religion, there are many doctrines associated with the existence and nature of God as well as rules governing correct behavior. A key issue is whether a rational person should believe these doctrines, for example, whether revelation in the form of holy books and religious experiences of the divine are sufficient evidence for these beliefs. 280, 281, 282. A similar epistemological problem in relation to the law is what counts as evidence and how much evidence is required to find a person guilty of a crime. A related issue in journalism is how to ensure truth and objectivity when reporting on events. 272. Philosophy in the form of logic has been influential in the fields of mathematics and computer science. 283, 284, 285. Further fields influenced by philosophy include psychology, sociology, linguistics, education, and the arts. 286. The close relation between philosophy and other fields in the contemporary period is reflected in the fact that many philosophy graduates go on to work in related fields rather than in philosophy itself. 287. Philosophical ideas have also prepared and shaped changes in the field of politics. For example, ideals formulated in Enlightenment philosophy laid the foundation for constitutional democracy and played a role in the American Revolution and the French Revolution. 288. Marxist philosophy and its exposition of communism was one of the factors in the Russian Revolution and the Chinese Communist Revolution. 289, 290, 291. In India, Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolence shaped the Indian independence movement. 292, 293. An example of the cultural and critical role of philosophy is found in its influence on the feminist movement. It has shaped the understanding of key concepts in feminism, for instance, the meaning of gender, how it differs from biological sex, and what role it plays in the formation of personal identity. Philosophers have also investigated the concepts of justice and equality and their implications with respect to the prejudicial treatment of women in male-dominated societies. 294, 295, 296. However, the idea that philosophy is useful for many aspects of life and society is sometimes rejected. According to one such view, philosophy is mainly done for its own sake and does not make significant contributions to existing practices or external goals. 297, 298, 299. See also. Main article, Outline of Philosophy. Philosophy Portal. List of important publications in philosophy. List of years in philosophy. List of philosophy journals. List of philosophy awards. List of unsolved problems in philosophy. Lists of philosophers. These dates are traditionally cited, but some recent scholars suggest that his life ran from 1077 to 1157, 110. The truth conditions of a sentence are the circumstances or states of affairs under which the sentence would be true. 205. Citations. Harper 2022, Philosophy. Simpson 2002, Philosophy. Jacobs 2022, page 23. Botten 1993, page 151. Jarozinski 2018, page 12. OED Staff 2022, Philosophy, N. Tuamala 1985, page 1. Shivendra 2006, pages 15 to 16. Kenny 2009, page 202. Grant 2007, page 163. Cotterill 2017, page 458. Maddie 2022, page 24. Grant 2007, page 318. Sandcolor 2010a, Philosophy Begriff. Grayling 2019, Philosophy in the 19th Century. Sandcolor 2010a. Harper 2022, Philosophy. AHD Staff 2022. Baghini and Krauss 2012. Audi 2006, Lead Section, Conclusion. Honderich 2005, page 702, Philosophy. Sandcolor 2010a, Philosophy Begriff. EB Staff 2023a. OUP Staff 2020. Adler 2000. Perry, Bratman and Fisher 2010, page 4. Geyer 2014, pages 7-8. Kant 1998, p. A805/B833. Kant 1992, p. 925. Bet 2011, page 219. Plato 1997, pages 21b4, 22e. Bet 2011, page 230. Plato 1997, pages 38a5, 6. Kenny 2004, page 15. Russell 1912, page 91. Blackwell 2013, page 148. Podgman and Vaughan 2009, page 2. Honderich 2005, page 702, Philosophy. Overgaard, Gilbert and Burwood 2013, pages 7, 17. Overgaard, Gilbert and Burwood 2013, pages 20, 44, What is Philosophy? Mittelstrass 2005, Philosophy. Quine 2008, pages 293-294, 41. A Letter to Mr. Osterman. Jull. Overgaard, Gilbert and Burwood 2013, pages 20-21, 25, 35, 39, What is Philosophy? Overgaard, Gilbert and Burwood 2013, pages 20-22, What is Philosophy? Rescher 2013, pages 1-3, 1. The Nature of Philosophy. Nuttall 2013, pages 12-13, 1. The Nature of Philosophy. Overgaard, Gilbert and Burwood 2013, pages 26-27, What is Philosophy? Hilton and Kemp 2020. Overgaard, Gilbert and Burwood 2013, pages 25-27, What is Philosophy? Chalmers 2015, pages 3-4. Delson, Lawler and Norton 2021, pages 814-815. Overgaard, Gilbert and Burwood 2013, pages 27-30, What is Philosophy? Hacker 2013, page 6. Overgaard, Gilbert and Burwood 2013, pages 34-36, What is Philosophy? Rescher 2013, pages 1-2, 1. The Nature of Philosophy. Overgaard, Gilbert and Burwood 2013, pages 20-21, 29, What is Philosophy? Schaeffer 2015, pages 555-556. Jull, section 4.I. Jelen 2020, page 98, Husserl's idea of rigorous science and its relevance for the human and social sciences. In Garden 1975, pages 8-11, The Concept of Philosophy as Rigorous Science. Thiessen 2005, page 100. Smith, section 2.b. Jull, lead section, section 2c. Ordinary Language Philosophy and the Later Wittgenstein. Beletsky and Mutar 2021. Banachky 2014, page 7. Haddett 1995, 11. Philosophy as a Way of Life. Grimm and Coho 2021, pages 236-237. Overgaard, Gilbert and Burwood 2013, pages 36-37, 43, What is Philosophy? Nuttall 2013, page 12, 1. The Nature of Philosophy. Copleston 2003, pages 4-6. Santinello and Piea 2010, pages 487-488. Varine 2008, pages 6-8. Lerka, Smith and Schlieser 2013, pages 115-118. Varine 2008, pages 6-8. Fried 2022, p.ex. Beeney 2013, page 60. Scharfstein 1998, pages 1-4. Purrett 2016, Is There Indian Philosophy? Smart 2008, pages 1-3. Rescher 2014, page 173. Parkinson 2005, pages 1-2. Smart 2008, pages v. 1-12. Flavel and Robiano 2023, page 279. Solomon and Higgins 2003, pages 15 to 16. Grayling 2019, Contents, Preface. Blackson 2011, Introduction. Graham 2023, Lead Section, 1. Presocratic Thought. Dignan 2010, pages 9 to 11. Graham 2023, Lead Section, 2. Socrates, 3. Plato, 4. Aristotle. Grayling 2019, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. Long 1986, page 1. Blackson 2011, chapter 10. Graham 2023, 6. Post-Hellenistic Thought. Dignan 2010, page 9. Lagerlund 2020, p.v. Marenbahn 2023, Lead Section. MacDonald and Kretzmann 1996, Lead Section. Grayling 2019, Part 2, Medieval and Renaissance Philosophy. Adamson 2019, pages 3 to 4. Parkinson 2005, pages 1, 3. Adamson 2022, pages 155 to 157. Grayling 2019, Philosophy in the Renaissance. Chamber et al. 2023, Renaissance Philosophy. Grayling 2019, The Rise of Modern Thought, the 18th Century Enlightenment. Anstey and Vanzo 2023, pages 236 to 237. Grayling 2019, The 18th Century Enlightenment. Kenny 2006, pages 90 to 92. Grayling 2019, Philosophy in the 19th Century. Grayling 2019, Philosophy in the 20th Century. Zach 2009, page 255. Waith 1995, pages 19 to 23. Adamson and Taylor 2004, page 1. E.B. Staff 2020. Grayling 2019, Arabic-Persian Philosophy. Adamson 2016, pages 5 to 6. Esposito 2003, page 246. Nasser and Lehman 2013, 11. Al-Kindi. Nasser 2006, pages 109 to 110. Adamson 2020, Lead Section. Goodis 2016. Grayling 2019, Ibn Sina, Avicenna. Adamson 2016, pages 140 to 146. Dessen 2013, page 75. Griffel 2020, Lead Section, 3. Al-Ghazali's Refutations of Falsafa and Ismailism, 4. The Place of Falsafa in Islam. Grayling 2019, Ibn Rushd, Averroes. Kaminsky 2017, page 32. Rizvi 2021, Lead Section, 3. Metaphysics, 4. Noetics, Epistemology and Psychology. Kamenka 2019, page 73. Modal 2005, pages 1 to 2. Massoud 2009, pages 237 to 238. Safi 2005, Lead Section. Smart 2008, page 3. Grayling 2019, Indian Philosophy. Purut 2016, Indian Philosophy, A Brief Historical Overview, The Ancient Period of Indian Philosophy. Grayling 2019, Indian Philosophy. Pooley and Ruthenbuehler 2016, page 1468. Andrea and Overfield 2015, pages 71. Purut 2016, The Ancient Period of Indian Philosophy. Ruther 2004, page 57. Jurgensmeyer and Roof 2012, pages 609 to 610. Hinson and Kainer 2008, page 289. Purut 2016, Indian Philosophy, A Brief Historical Overview, The Classical Period of Indian Philosophy, The Medieval Period of Indian Philosophy. Glennie and Silva 2019, page 77. Adamson and Gannery 2020, pages 101 to 102. Purut 2016, The Medieval Period of Indian Philosophy. Dalal 2021, Lead Section, 2. Metaphysics. Menon, Lead Section. Ranganathan, 1. Ramanuj's Life and Works. Ranganathan, Lead Section, 2c. Substantive Theses. Ranganathan, 4. Ramanuj Soteriology. Kulka and Ruthermund 1998, page 139. Sheshadri 1996, pages 297. Jha 2022, page 217. Purut 2016, Indian Philosophy, A Brief Historical Overview, The Modern Period of Indian Philosophy. E.B. Staff 2023. Bonhutti 1995, pages 151 to 154. Villamoria 2018, pages 529 to 531. Rambishan 1994, pages 91 to 92. Smart 2008, pages 3, 70 to 71. EB Staff 2017, lead section, Periods of Development of Chinese Philosophy. Littlejohn 2023. Grayling 2019, Chinese Philosophy. Mao 2009, pages 43 to 45. Wei Ming, lead section. Perkins 2013, pages 486 to 487. Ma 2015, page 14. EB Staff 2017, lead section, Periods of Development of Chinese Philosophy. Smart 2008, pages 70 to 76. Littlejohn 2023, 1b. Confucius, 551 to 479 BCE, of the Analects. Boyd and Timp 2021, pages 64 to 66. Marshav 2021, pages 100 to 101. EB Staff 2017, lead section, Periods of Development of Chinese Philosophy. Slingerland 2007, pages 77 to 78. Grayling 2019, Chinese Philosophy. Grayling 2019, Chinese Philosophy. Littlejohn 2023, 1c. Mosey, c. 470 to 391 BCE, and Moism. Defort and Standard 2013, page 35. Kim 2019, page 161. Littlejohn 2023, 2a. Syncretic Philosophies in the Qin and Han Periods. Littlejohn 2023, Early Buddhism in China. EB Staff 2017, Periods of Development of Chinese Philosophy. Littlejohn 2023, 4b. Neo-Confucianism, The Original Way of Confucius for a New Era. Littlejohn 2023, 5. The Chinese and Western Encounter in Philosophy. Mao 2009, pages 473 to 480, 512 to 513. Chi 2014, pages 99 to 100. Adamson, Peter, Gannery, Jonardon, 2020. Classical Indian Philosophy, A History of Philosophy Without Any Gaps, Volume 5. Oxford University Press. Pages 101 to 109. ISBN 978-0-19-885176-9. Archived from the original on June 29, 2023. Retrieved June 30, 2023. Adamson, Peter, Taylor, Richard C., December 9, 2004. The Cambridge Companion to Arabic Philosophy. Cambridge University Press. ISBN 978-1-107-49469-5. Archived from the original on June 7, 2023. Retrieved June 7, 2023. Adamson, Peter, 2020. Al-Kindi. The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Metaphysics Research Lab, Stanford University. Archived from the original on May 21, 2019. Retrieved June 7, 2023. Adamson, Peter, February 10, 2022. Byzantine and Renaissance Philosophy, A History of Philosophy Without Any Gaps, Volume 6. Volume 6. Oxford University Press. ISBN 978-0-19-266992-6. Archived from the original on May 25, 2023. Retrieved May 25, 2023. Adamson, Peter, September 2019. Medieval Philosophy. A History of Philosophy Without Any Gaps. Volume 4. Oxford University Press. ISBN 978-0-19-884240-8. Archived from the original on May 25, 2023. Retrieved May 25, 2023. Adamson, Peter, 2016. Philosophy in the Islamic World. A History of Philosophy Without Any Gaps. Volume 3. Oxford University Press. ISBN 978-0-19-957749-1. Archived from the original on May 25, 2023. Retrieved May 25, 2023. Adler, Mortimer J., 2000. How to Think About the Great Ideas, from the Great Books of Western Civilization. Open Court. ISBN 978-0-8126-9412-3. AHD Staff, 2022. The American Heritage Dictionary entry, Philosophy. www.audictionary.com. HarperCollins. Archived from the original on September 3, 2023. Retrieved July 7, 2023. Andrea, Alfred J., Overfield, James H., January 1, 2015. The Human Record, Sources of Global History, Volume 1, to 1500. Singage Learning. ISBN 978-1-305-53746-0. Archived from the original on June 22, 2023. Retrieved June 10, 2023. Anchikov, Oleg M., Georgely, Thomas, March 11, 2010. Cognitive Reasoning, A Formal Approach. Springer Science and Business Media. Page 128. ISBN 978-3-540-68875-4. Archived from the original on February 10, 2023. Retrieved July 17, 2023. Anstey, Peter R., Vanzo, Alberto, January 31, 2023. Experimental Philosophy and the Origins of Empiricism. Cambridge University Press. ISBN 978-1-009-03467-8. Archived from the original on June 3, 2023. Retrieved June 2, 2023. Audi, Robert, 2006. Philosophy. In Borkert, Donald M. edition. Encyclopedia of Philosophy. 7, Oakeshott, Presupposition, 2, edition. Thomson Gale, Macmillan reference. Pages 332 to 337. ISBN 978-0-02-865787-5. Archived from the original on February 14, 2022. Beghini, Julian, Krauss, Lawrence, September 8, 2012. Philosophy v. Science, Which Can Answer the Big Questions of Life? The Guardian. Archived from the original on February 14, 2022. Retrieved February 11, 2022. Bailey, Richard, Barrow, Robin, Carr, David, McCarthy, Christine, March 23, 2010. The Sage Handbook of Philosophy of Education. Sage. ISBN 978-1-4462-0697-3. Archived from the original on September 3, 2023. Retrieved August 21, 2023. Bhanghutty, G. S., 1995. Life and Philosophy of Swami Vivekananda. Atlantic Publishers and DST. ISBN 978-81-7156-291-6. Banachie, Conrad, 2014. Philosophy as Therapy, Towards a Conceptual Model. Philosophical Papers. 43, 17-31, doi, 10.1080/0556864.2014.901692. S2 SID 144901869. Archived from the original on February 13, 2022. Retrieved February 15, 2022. Barsky, Alan E., October 14, 2009. Ethics and Values in Social Work, An Integrated Approach for a Comprehensive Curriculum. Oxford University Press. Page 3. ISBN 978-0-19-971758-3. Archived from the original on September 3, 2023. Retrieved July 6, 2023. Bodden, H. Heath, 1904. What is Pragmatism? The Journal of Philosophy, Psychology and Scientific Methods. 1, 16421-427, doi, 10.2307/20111902. ISSN 0160-9335. JSTOR 20111902. Archived from the original on March 7, 2022. Retrieved April 18, 2022. Bain, Tim, 2018. The Philosophy of Religion, A Very Short Introduction. Oxford University Press. ISBN 978-0-19-875496-1. Beanie, Michael, June 20, 2013. The Oxford Handbook of the History of Analytic Philosophy. OUP Oxford. ISBN 978-0-19-166266-9. Archived from the original on May 25, 2023. Retrieved May 25, 2023. Bett, Richard, 2011. Socratic Ignorance. In Morrison, Donald R. edition. The Cambridge Companion to Socrates. Cambridge University Press. Pages 215 to 36, doi 10.1017/CCOL 9780521833424.010. ISBN 978-0-521-83342-4. Beletsky, Anat, Muhtar, Anat, 2021. Ludwig Wittgenstein, 3.7 The Nature of Philosophy. The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Metaphysics Research Lab, Stanford University. Archived from the original on September 8, 2018. Retrieved February 11, 2022. Villa Moria, Puruatama, 2018. History of Indian Philosophy. Routledge. ISBN 978-0-415-30976-9. Bird, Alexander, August 2010. The Epistemology of Science, A Bird's Eye View. Synthese. 175, S15-16, doi 10.1077/S11229-010-9740-4. S2 SID 15228491. Berner, Betty J., June 21, 2012. Introduction to Pragmatics. John Wiley & Sons. Page 33. ISBN 978-1-118-34830-7. Archived from the original on September 3, 2023. Retrieved August 21, 2023. Blackburn, Simon W., 2022. Philosophy of Language. www.britannica.com. Archived from the original on May 13, 2021. Retrieved July 18, 2023. Blackburn, Simon, 2008. The Oxford Dictionary of Philosophy, 2 edition. OUP. ISBN 978-0-19-954143-0. Blackson, Thomas A., January 6, 2011. Ancient Greek Philosophy, From the Presocratics to the Hellenistic Philosophers. John Wiley & Sons. ISBN 978-1-4443-9608-9. Archived from the original on May 28, 2023. Retrieved May 28, 2023. Blackwell, Kenneth, January 3, 2013. The Spinozistic Ethics of Bertrand Russell. Routledge. Page 148. ISBN 978-1-135-10711-6. Blair, J., Anthony, Johnson, Ralph H., 2000. Informal Logic, An Overview. Informal Logic. 20, 293-107, doi, 10.22329/il.v20i2.2262. Archived from the original on December 9, 2021. Retrieved December 29, 2021. Bondurant, Joan Valerie, 1988. Conquest of Violence, The Gandhian Philosophy of Conflict, New Rev edition. Princeton University Press. ISBN 978-0-691-02281-9. Botten, Francesco, 1993. Models of the History of Philosophy, From Its Origins in the Renaissance to the Historia Philosophica, Volume 1, From Its Origins in the Renaissance to the Historia Philosophica. Springer Science and Business Media. Page 151. ISBN 978-0-7923-2200-9. Archived from the original on September 3, 2023. Retrieved July 7, 2023. Bohl, John Edward, Arneson, Richard J., July 17, 2023. Political Philosophy. www.britannica.com. Archived from the original on April 15, 2021. Retrieved July 21, 2023. Boyd, Craig A., Timp, Kevin, March 25, 2021. The Virtues, A Very Short Introduction. Oxford University Press. ISBN 978-0-19-258407-6. Archived from the original on June 22, 2023. Retrieved June 13, 2023. Brenner, William H., September 30, 1993. Logic and Philosophy, An Integrated Introduction. University of Notre Dame Press. Page 16. ISBN 978-0-268-15898-9. Archived from the original on June 30, 2023. Retrieved July 5, 2023. Bristow, William, 2023. Enlightenment. The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Metaphysics Research Lab, Stanford University. Retrieved September 4, 2023. Brown, James Robert, Feehige, Yiftach, 2019. Thought Experiments. The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Metaphysics Research Lab, Stanford University. Archived from the original on November 21, 2017. Retrieved October 29, 2021. Burns, Elizabeth, October 2, 2017. What is this thing called Philosophy of Religion? Routledge. Pages I, 1-3. ISBN 978-1-317-59546-5. Archived from the original on July 21, 2023. Retrieved July 21, 2023. Chalmers, David J., 2015. Why isn't there more progress in philosophy? Philosophy. 90, 13-31, doi, 10.1017/S00318191140000436. HDL, 1885/57201. S2 SID 1709742260. Archived from the original on February 13, 2022. Retrieved February 27, 2022. Kamenka, Leila, September 3, 2019. The Conceptualization of Guardianship in Iranian Intellectual History, 1800 to 1989. Reading Ibn Arab's Theory of Wilaya in the Shah World. Springer Nature. ISBN 978-3-030-22692-3. Archived from the original on June 22, 2023. Retrieved June 9, 2023. Chamber, Henri, Maurer, Armand, Stroll, Avram, McClellan, David T., Levi, Albert William, Volleen, Richard, Fritz, Kurt Vaughan, 2023. Western Philosophy. www.britannica.com. Archived from the original on May 13, 2021. Retrieved May 30, 2023. Clark, Kelly James, 2022. Religious Epistemology. Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Archived from the original on September 21, 2022. Retrieved September 21, 2022. Kogan, John. Phenomenological Reduction, the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Archived from the original on April 4, 2020. Retrieved February 27, 2022. Coleman, Andrew M., January 1, 2009a. Declarative Knowledge. A Dictionary of Psychology. Oxford University Press. ISBN 978-0-19-953406-7. Archived from the original on March 30, 2023. Retrieved April 16, 2023. Copleston, Frederick, June 1, 2003. History of Philosophy Volume 1, Greece and Rome. Continuum. ISBN 978-0-8264-6895-6. Archived from the original on May 25, 2023. Retrieved May 25, 2023. Cotterill, Brian, August 29, 2017. Physics and Culture. World Scientific. Page 458. ISBN 978-1-78634-378-9. Archived from the original on August 25, 2023. Retrieved August 25, 2023. Coughlin, John J., March 16, 2012. Law, Person, and Community, Philosophical, Theological, and Comparative Perspectives on Canon Law. Oxford University Press. Page 15. ISBN 978-0-19-987718-8. Archived from the original on July 16, 2023. Retrieved July 16, 2023. Craig, Edward, 1996. Routledge Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Routledge. ISBN 978-0-415-07310-3. Archived from the original on January 16, 2021. Retrieved December 29, 2021. Craig, Edward, 1998. Metaphysics Routledge Encyclopedia of Philosophy. www.rep.routledge.com. Archived from the original on August 1, 2023. Retrieved July 15, 2023. Crary, Alice, 2013. 13. Eating and Experimenting on Animals. In Petrus, Klaus, Wild, Marcus, eds. Animal Minds and Animal Ethics. Transcript Verlag. doi, 10.1515/transcript.9783839424629.321, inactive August 1, 2023. ISBN 978-3-8394-2462-9. Cropper, Carol Marie, December 26, 1997. Philosophers Find the Degree Pays Off in Life and in Work. The New York Times. ISSN 0362-4331. Archived from the original on January 28, 2017. Retrieved May 2, 2016. Crumley, Jack S., April 17, 2006. A Brief Introduction to the Philosophy of Mind. Rowman and Littlefield Publishers. Pages 2-3. ISBN 978-0-7425-7212-6. Archived from the original on July 19, 2023. Retrieved July 19, 2023. Dalal, Neil, 2021. Ankara. The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Metaphysics Research Lab, Stanford University. Archived from the original on January 27, 2022. Retrieved June 19, 2023. Daly, Chris, 2015. Introduction and Historical Overview. The Palgrave Handbook of Philosophical Methods. Palgrave Macmillan UK. Pages 1-30, doi 10.1057/9781137344557_1. ISBN 978-1-137-34455-7. Archived from the original on May 1, 2022. Retrieved April 18, 2022. Daly, Christopher, July 20, 2010. Introduction. An Introduction to Philosophical Methods. Broadview Press. ISBN 978-1-55111-934-2. Archived from the original on July 30, 2022. Retrieved June 7, 2022. Daniels, Norman, 2020. Reflective Equilibrium. The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Metaphysics Research Lab, Stanford University. Archived from the original on February 22, 2022. Retrieved February 28, 2022. Defort, Karine, Standard. Dever, Josh, May 19, 2016. What is Philosophical Methodology? In Kaplan, Herman, Gendler, Tamar Sabo, Hawthorne, John, eds. The Oxford Handbook of Philosophical Methodology. Pages 3-24. doi, 10.1093/Oxford/9780199668779.013.34. ISBN 978-0-19-966877-9. Archived from the original on December 5, 2020. Retrieved April 18, 2022. Dittmer, Joel. Ethics, Applied. Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Archived from the original on June 1, 2023. Retrieved July 2, 2023. Doherty, Trent, June 12, 2014. Faith, Trust, and Testimony. Religious Faith and Intellectual Virtue, 97-123. doi, 10.1093/prof. OSO/9780199672158.003.0005. ISBN 978-0-19-967215-8. Duvin, Igor, 2022. Abduction and Explanatory Reasoning. Oxford Bibliographies. Oxford University Press. Archived from the original on February 10, 2023. Retrieved January 18, 2023. Dowden, Bradley, 2023. Fallacies. Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Archived from the original on June 3, 2019. Retrieved January 22, 2023. Dowden, Bradley H., 2020. Logical Reasoning, PDF. Archived, PDF, from the original on June 2, 2023. Retrieved July 17, 2023. For an earlier version, see Dowden, Bradley Harris, 1993. Logical Reasoning. Wadsworth Publishing Company. ISBN 978-0-534-17688-4. Archived from the original on February 10, 2023. Retrieved July 17, 2023. Du, Wenjiang, December 3, 2012. Informatics and Management Science 2. Springer Science and Business Media. Page 784. ISBN 978-1-4471-4811-1. Archived from the original on July 7, 2023. Retrieved July 6, 2023. Dignan, Brian, 2009. Intuitionism, Ethics. Encyclopaedia Britannica. Archived from the original on March 7, 2022. Retrieved February 28, 2022. Dignan, Brian, 2010. Ancient Philosophy, from 600 BCE to 500 CE. The Rosen Publishing Group Incorporated. ISBN 978-1-61530-141-6. Archived from the original on May 28, 2023. Retrieved June 30, 2023. Dignan, Brian, edition, June 1, 2012. The Science and Philosophy of Politics. Britannica Educational Publishing. Pages 5 to 6. ISBN 978-1-61530-748-7. Archived from the original on July 21, 2023. Retrieved July 21, 2023. E.B. Staff, 2017. Chinese Philosophy. www.britannica.com. Archived from the original on May 2, 2015. Retrieved June 12, 2023. E.B. Staff, 2023. History and Periods of Indian Philosophy. www.britannica.com. Archived from the original on June 11, 2023. Retrieved June 10, 2023. E.B. Staff, 2020. Islamic Philosophy. www.britannica.com. Archived from the original on June 7, 2023. Retrieved June 7, 2023. E.B. Staff, 2023a. Philosophy. Encyclopaedia Britannica. Archived from the original on February 23, 2021. Retrieved May 29, 2022. E.B. Staff, 2007. Philosophy of Common Sense. Encyclopaedia Britannica. Archived from the original on March 7, 2022. Retrieved February 27, 2022. E.B. Staff, 2022. Ordinary Language Analysis. Encyclopaedia Britannica. Archived from the original on March 7, 2022. Retrieved February 28, 2022. Eder, Anna Maria A. Lawler, Insa, Van Riel, Raphael, March 1, 2020. Philosophical Methods Under Scrutiny, Introduction to the Special Issue Philosophical Methods. Synthese. 197, 3915-923, doi, 10.1007/S11229-018-02051-2. ISSN 1573-0964. S2 SID 546319297. Espin, Orlando O., Nikoloff, James B., 2007. An Introductory Dictionary of Theology and Religious Studies. Liturgical Press. Page 8. ISBN 978-0-8146-5856-7. Archived from the original on July 16, 2023. Retrieved July 16, 2023. Esposito, John L., edition, 2003. The Oxford Dictionary of Islam. Oxford University Press. ISBN 978-0-19-512559-7. Fayette, James O., March 8, 2022. The Theoretical World of Entrepreneurship. Edward Elgar Publishing. Page 133. ISBN 978-1-80037-147-7. Archived from the original on July 16, 2023. Retrieved July 16, 2023. Flavel, Sarah, Robiano, Chiara, January 12, 2023. Key Concepts in World Philosophies, A Toolkit for Philosophers. Bloomsbury Publishing. Page 279. ISBN 978-1-350-16814-5. Archived from the original on August 19, 2023. Retrieved August 19, 2023. Forrest, Peter, 2021. The Epistemology of Religion. The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Metaphysics Research Lab, Stanford University. Archived from the original on July 10, 2022. Retrieved September 21, 2022. Frankina, William K., Raybeck, Nathan, Burbules, Nicholas, 2002. Philosophy of Education. In Guthrie, James W., edition. Encyclopedia of Education, 2nd edition. Macmillan reference. ISBN 978-0-02-8655594-9. Freed, Michael, 2022. The Historiography of Philosophy. Oxford University Press. ISBN 978-0-19-884072-5. Archived from the original on May 24, 2023. Retrieved May 24, 2023. Jelen, Victor Eugen, 2020. Husserl's Idea of Rigorous Science and Its Relevance for the Human and Social Sciences. The Subjects of Phenomenology. Contributions to Phenomenology. Volume 108. Springer International Publishing. Pages 97 to 105, doi 10.1007/978-3-030-29357-4_6. ISBN 978-3-030-29357-4. S2 SID 2130821313. Archived from the original on March 2, 2022. Retrieved February 27, 2022. Gell, Alfred, August 20, 2020. The Art of Anthropology, Essays and Diagrams. Routledge. Page 174. ISBN 978-1-000. A medicine man or medicine woman is a traditional healer and spiritual leader who serves a community of indigenous people of the Americas. Individual cultures have their own names, in their respective languages, for spiritual healers and ceremonial leaders in their particular cultures. Cultural context. Yupik medicine man exorcising evil spirits from a sick boy in Nushagak, Alaska, 1890s. 1. In the ceremonial context of indigenous North American communities, medicine usually refers to spiritual healing. Medicine men/women should not be confused with those who employ Native American ethnobotany, a practice that is very common in a large number of Native American and First Nations households. 2, 3, 4. The terms medicine people or ceremonial people are sometimes used in Native American and First Nations communities, for example, when Arwin Nuttall, Cherokee, of the National Museum of the American Indian writes, the knowledge possessed by medicine people is privileged, and it often remains in particular families. 5. Native Americans tend to be quite reluctant to discuss issues about medicine or medicine people with non-Indians. In some cultures, the people will not even discuss these matters with American Indians from other tribes. In most tribes, medicine elders are prohibited from advertising or introducing themselves as such. As Nuttall writes, an inquiry to a native person about religious beliefs or ceremonies is often viewed with suspicion. 5. One example of this is the Apache medicine cord or iscloth, whose purpose and used by Apache medicine elders was a mystery to 19th-century ethnologists because the Apache look upon these cords as so sacred that strangers are not allowed to see them, much less handle them or talk about them. 6. The 1954 version of Webster's New World Dictionary of the American Language reflects the poorly grounded perceptions of the people whose use of the term effectively defined it for the people of that time, a man supposed to have supernatural powers of curing disease and controlling spirits. In effect, such definitions were not explanations of what these medicine people are to their own communities but instead reported on the consensus of socially and psychologically remote observers when they tried to categorize the individuals. Citation needed. The term medicine man/woman, like the term shaman, has been criticized by Native Americans, as well as other specialists in the fields of religion and anthropology. While non-native anthropologists often use the term shaman for indigenous healers worldwide, including the Americas, shaman is the specific name for a spiritual mediator from the Tungusic peoples of Siberia. 7, and is not used in Native American or First Nations communities. Frauds and scams. There are many fraudulent healers and scam artists who pose as Cherokee shamans, and the Cherokee Nation has had to speak out against these people, even forming a task force to handle the issue. In order to seek help from a Cherokee medicine person, a person needs to know someone in the community who can vouch for them and provide a referral. Usually one makes contact through a relative who knows the healer. 8. See also. The Medicine Man, an 1899 sculpture by Cyrus Dahlan exhibited in Philadelphia. Bomo, Malay shaman and traditional medicine practitioner. Dukuan, Indonesian term for shaman. Cultural appropriation, inappropriate adoption of culture and cultural identity. Curandero, traditional healer found in Latin America and the United States. Folk healer, unlicensed traditional health practitioner. Herbalism, study and use of supposed medicinal properties of plants. Holism, a system as a whole, not just its parts. Kiwe Dinique Pescal, American ethnobiologist. Kalawea, Bolivian traditional healers. Kanekuk, Kickapoo religious leader. Medicine bag, traditional North American Indian container for various items of supernatural power. Native American ethnobotany, list of plants used by indigenous peoples of North America. Native American religion, systems of faith and worship of the Native Americans. Plastic shaman, fraudulent spiritual practitioner. Prehistoric medicine, medicine in the time before the invention of writing. Quisalid, Canadian shaman. Shamanism, religious practice. Trance, abnormal state of wakefulness or altered state of consciousness. Notes. Finup Reardon, and, 1994. Boundaries and Passages, Rule and Ritual in Yupik Eskimo Oral Tradition. Norman, Oklahoma, University of Oklahoma Press, page 206. Nushagak, located on Nushagak Bay of the Bering Sea in southwest Alaska, is part of the territory of the Yupik, speakers of the Central Alaskan Yupik language. Alcos, Dr. Thomas M. Ethnobotany from a Native American Perspective, Restoring Our Relationship with the Earth archived January 4, 2018 at the Wayback Machine in Botanic Gardens Conservation International Volume 1 No. 19, December 1999. Mowerman, Daniel E., 1979. Symbols and Selectivity, A Statistical Analysis of Native American Medical Ethnobotany, PDF. Journal of Ethnopharmacology. 1, 111-119, doi 10.1016/0378-8741, 79, 90002-3, HDL 2027.42/23587. PMID 94415. Northeastern Area State and Private Forestry, Traditional Ecological Knowledge, Sustaining Our Lives and the Natural World at United States Department of Agriculture, Forest Service. Newtown Square, Pennsylvania, December 2011. National Museum of the American Indian. Do all Indians live in teepees? Washington, D.C., Smithsonian Institution, 2007. ISBN 978-0-06-115301-3. Smithsonian Institution, Bureau of American Ethnology, 1892. Annual Report of the Bureau of American Ethnology to the Secretary of the Smithsonian Institution, Issue 9, Government Printing Office, United States Government, 1892. There is probably no more mysterious or interesting portion of the religious or medicinal equipment of the Apache Indian, whether he be medicine man or simply a member of the laity, than the iscloth or medicine cord. The Apache look upon these cords as so sacred that strangers are not allowed to see them, much less handle them or talk about them. Smith, C. Arsha Shamanism. Archived February 12, 2012 at the Wayback Machine Cabrillo College. Retrieved June 28, 2011. Cherokee Medicine Men and Women. Cherokee.org, archived from the original on February 11, 2017. Retrieved November 20, 2016. In general use, herbs are a widely distributed and widespread group of plants, excluding vegetables and other plants consumed for macronutrients, with savory or aromatic properties that are used for flavoring and garnishing food, for medicinal purposes, or for fragrances. Culinary use typically distinguishes herbs from spices. Herbs generally refers to the leafy green or flowering parts of a plant, either fresh or dried, while spices are usually dried and produced from other parts of the plant, including seeds, bark, roots and fruits. Herbs have a variety of uses including culinary, medicinal, aromatic and in some cases, spiritual. General usage of the term herb differs between culinary herbs and medicinal herbs. In medicinal or spiritual use, any parts of the plant might be considered as herbs, including leaves, roots, flowers, seeds, root bark, inner bark, and cambium, resin and pericarp. The word herb is pronounced /hrb/ in Commonwealth English. 1. but /rb/ is common among American English speakers and those from regions where H-dropping occurs. In Canadian English, both pronunciations are common, too. In botany, the noun herb refers to a plant that does not produce a woody stem, and the adjective herbaceous means herb-like, referring to parts of the plant that are green and soft in texture. 3, 4. What is a herb? The friend of physicians and the praise of cooks. Alcuin and his student Charlemagne. 5. Definition. Herb garden at Hardwick Hall, Derbyshire, England, originally planted in the 1870s by Lady Louisa Edgerton, recreated by the National Trust, largely following the original design. In botany, the term herb refers to a herbaceous plant. 6. Defined as a small, seed-bearing plant without a woody stem in which all aerial parts, i.e. above ground, die back to the ground at the end of each growing season. 7. Usually the term refers to perennials. 6. Although herbaceous plants can also be annuals, plants that die at the end of the growing season and grow back from seed next year. 8. Or biennials. 6. This term is in contrast to shrubs and trees which possess a woody stem. 7. Shrubs and trees are also defined in terms of size, where shrubs are less than 10 meters tall, and trees may grow over 10 meters. 7. The word herbaceous is derived from Latin herbaceous meaning grassy, from herba grass, herb. 9. Another sense of the term herb can refer to a much larger range of plants. 10. With culinary, therapeutic or other uses. 6. For example, some of the most commonly described herbs such as sage, rosemary and lavender would be excluded from the botanical definition of a herb as they do not die down each year, and they possess woody stems. 8. In the wider sense, herbs may be herbaceous perennials but also trees. 10. Subshrubs. 10. Shrubs. 10. Annuals. 10. Lianas. 10. Ferns. 10. Mosses. 10. Algae. 10. Lichens. 8. And fungi. 8. Herbalism can utilize not just stems and leaves but also fruit, roots, bark and gums. 8. Therefore, one suggested definition of a herb is a plant which is of use to humans. 8. Although this definition is problematic since it could cover a great many plants that are not commonly described as herbs. History. Ancient Greek philosopher Theophrastus divided the plant world into trees, shrubs, and herbs. 11. Herbs came to be considered in three groups, namely pot herbs, e.g. onions, sweet herbs, e.g. thyme, and salad herbs, e.g. wild celery. 8. During the 17th century as selective breeding changed the plant's size and flavor away from the wild plant, pot herbs began to be referred to as vegetables as they were no longer considered only suitable for the pot. 8. Botany and the study of herbs was, in its infancy, primarily a study of the pharmacological uses of plants. During the Middle Ages, when humoral theory guided medicine, it was posited that foodstuffs, possessing their own humoral qualities, could alter the humoral temperaments of people. Parsley and sage were often used together in medieval cookery, for example in chicken broth, which had developed a reputation as a therapeutic food by the 14th century. One of the most common sauces of the age, green sauce, was made with parsley and often sage as well. In a 14th century recipe recorded in Latin for lords, for settling their temperament and whetting their appetite, green sauce is served with a dish of cheese and whole egg yolks boiled in watered-down wine with herbs and spices. 12. Reproduction. Perennial herbs are usually reproduced by stem cuttings, either softwood cuttings of immature growth, or hardwood cuttings where the bark has been scraped to expose the cambium layer. A cutting will usually be approximately 3 to 4 inches in length. Plant roots can grow from the stems. Leaves are stripped from the lower portion up to 1/2 before the cutting is placed in growth medium or rooted in a glass of water. This process requires high humidity in the environment, sufficient light, and root zone heat. 13. Uses. Culinary. A bundle of thyme, thymus. See also, list of culinary herbs and spices. Culinary herbs are distinguished from vegetables in that, like spices, they are used in small amounts and provide flavor rather than substance to food. 14. Herbs can be perennials such as thyme, oregano, sage or lavender, biennials such as parsley, or annuals like basil. Perennial herbs can be shrubs such as rosemary, Rosmarinus officinalis, or trees such as bay laurel, Laurus nobilis. This contrasts with botanical herbs, which by definition cannot be woody plants. Some plants are used as both herbs and spices, such as dillweed and dill seed or coriander leaves and seeds. There are also some herbs, such as those in the mint family, that are used for both culinary and medicinal purposes. Emperor Charlemagne, 742 to 814, compiled a list of 74 different herbs that were to be planted in his gardens. The connection between herbs and health is important already in the European Middle Ages. The Fermi of curry, that is, cookery, promotes extensive use of herbs, including in salads, and claims in its preface the assent and advisement of the masters of physic and philosophy in the king's court. 5. Teas. Main article, herbal tea. Some herbs can be infused in boiling water to make herbal teas, also termed tisanes. 6. 10. Typically the dried leaves, flowers, or seeds are used, or fresh herbs are used. 6. Herbal teas tend to be made from aromatic herbs. 11. May not contain tannins or caffeine. 6. And are not typically mixed with milk. 10. Common examples include chamomile tea. 10. Or mint tea. 11. Herbal teas are often used as a source of relaxation or can be associated with rituals. 11. Medicine. Main articles, medicinal plants and herbalism. See also, list of plants used in herbalism. Nicholas Culpeper was an English botanist, herbalist, physician, and astrologer. 15. Etching by Richard Gaywood between 1644 and 1662. Herbs were used in prehistoric medicine. As far back as 5000 BCE, evidence that Sumerians used herbs in medicine was inscribed on cuneiform. 16. In 162 CE, the physician Galen was known for concocting complicated herbal remedies that contained up to 100 ingredients. 17. Some plants contain phytochemicals that have effects on the body. There may be some effects when consumed in the small levels that typify culinary spicing, and some herbs are toxic in larger quantities. For instance, some types of herbal extract, such as the extract of St. John's wort, Hypericum perforatum, or of kava, Piper methysticum, can be used for medical purposes to relieve depression and stress. 18. However, large amounts of these herbs may lead to toxic overload that may involve complications, some of a serious nature, and should be used with caution. Complications can also arise when being taken with some prescription medicines. Herbs have long been used as the basis of traditional Chinese herbal medicine, with usage dating as far back as the 1st century CE and far before. In India, the Ayurveda medicinal system is based on herbs. Medicinal use of herbs in Western cultures has its roots in the Hippocratic, Greek, elemental healing system, based on a quaternary elemental healing metaphor. Famous herbalists of the Western tradition include Avicenna, Persian, Galen, Roman, Paracelsus, German, Swiss, Culpeper, English, and the botanically inclined eclectic physicians of 19th century/early 20th century America, John Milton Scudder, Harvey Wicks Felter, John Uri Lloyd. Modern pharmaceuticals had their origins in crude herbal medicines, and to this day, some drugs are still extracted as fractionate/isolate compounds from raw herbs and then purified to meet pharmaceutical standards. There is a record dated 1226-412d for roses for Baron's chamber and in 1516 for flowers and rushes for chambers for Henry IX. Th. 6. Certain herbs contain psychoactive properties that have been used for both religious and recreational purposes by humans since the early Holocene era, notably the leaves and extracts of the cannabis and coca plants. The leaves of the coca plant have been chewed by people in northern Peruvian societies for over 8,000 years. 19. While the use of cannabis as a psychoactive substance dates back to the 1st century CE in China and northern Africa. 20. Indigenous Australian peoples developed bush medicine based on plants that were readily available to them. The isolation of these groups meant the remedies developed were for far less serious diseases than the Western illnesses they contracted during colonization. Herbs such as river mint, wattle, and eucalyptus were used for coughs, diarrhea, fever, and headaches. 17. Ritual. Main article, sacred herb. Commiphora gileadensis, Gilead myrrh. Herbs are used in many religions. During the monastic era, monks would cultivate herbs alongside vegetables, while others would be set aside in a physic garden for specific purposes. 21. For example, myrrh, Commiphora myrrha, and frankincense, Boswellia species, in Hellenistic religion, the 9 herbs charm in Anglo-Saxon paganism, neem, Azadirachta indica, leaves, bale, Aegili marmelos, leaves, holy basil or tulsi, Ocimum tenuiflorum, turmeric or haldi, Curcuma longa, cannabis in Hinduism, and white sage in Wicca. Rastafari also consider cannabis to be a holy plant. Siberian shamans also used herbs for spiritual purposes. Plants may be used to induce spiritual experiences for rites of passage, such as vision quests in some Native American cultures. The Cherokee use both white sage and cedar for spiritual cleansing and smudging. Cosmetics. Originally there was always doubt in ancient societies, especially in the skeptical medium of Western traditions, as to the efficacy of herbal medicines. The use of herbal cosmetics dates back to around 6 centuries ago in the European and Western countries. Mixtures and pastes were often concocted to whiten the face. During the 1940s, herbal cosmetics took a turn with the emerging red lipstick color, with every year gaining a more intense red. Herbal cosmetics come in many forms, such as face creams, scrubs, lipstick, natural fragrances, powders, body oils, deodorants and sunscreens. They activate through the epithelium of sebaceous glands to make the skin more supple. Ayurvedic oils are widely used in India, prized for their natural health-giving properties. 22. One method, and perhaps the best, used to extract natural oils from herbs to make lipstick is partition chromatography. The process involves separation in watery solution, and then the injection of color under pressure. Other. Main article, strewing herb. Strewing herbs are scattered, strewn, over the floors of dwelling places and other buildings. Such plants usually have fragrant or astringent smells, and many also serve as insecticides, e.g. to repel fleas, or disinfectants. For example, meadowsweet, Philopendula ulmaria, was sometimes strewn across floors in the Middle Ages because of its sweet smell. 10. See also. Apothecary. Herb chopper. Herb farm. Outline of herbs and spices. Prayer is an invocation or act that seeks to activate a rapport with an object of worship through deliberate communication. In the narrow sense, the term refers to an act of supplication or intercession directed towards a deity or a deified ancestor. More generally, prayer can also have the purpose of thanksgiving or praise, and in comparative religion is closely associated with more abstract forms of meditation and with charms or spells. 1. Prayer can take a variety of forms. It can be part of a set liturgy or ritual, and it can be performed alone or in groups. Prayer may take the form of a hymn, incantation, formal creedal statement, or a spontaneous utterance in the praying person. The act of prayer is attested in written sources as early as 5,000 years ago. Today, most major religions involve prayer in one way or another. Some ritualize the act, requiring a strict sequence of actions or placing a restriction on who is permitted to pray, while others teach that prayer may be practiced spontaneously by anyone at any time. Scientific studies regarding the use of prayer have mostly concentrated on its effect on the healing of sick or injured people. The efficacy of prayer in faith healing has been evaluated in numerous studies, with contradictory results. Etymology. The English term prayer is from medieval Latin, precaria, lit. Petition, prayer. 2. The Vulgate Latin is oratio, which translates Greek pyro omicron sigma epsilon upsilon chi. 3. In turn the Septuagint translation of Biblical Hebrew tefillah. 4. Act of prayer. Various spiritual traditions offer a wide variety of devotional acts. There are morning and evening prayers, graces said over meals, and reverent physical gestures. Some Christians bow their heads and fold their hands. Some Native Americans regard dancing as a form of prayer. 5. Some Sufis whirl. 6. Hindus chant mantras. 7. Jewish prayer may involve swaying back and forth and bowing. 8. Muslim prayer involves bowing, kneeling, and prostration. Quakers keep silent. 9. Some pray according to standardized rituals and liturgies, while others prefer extemporaneous prayers. Still others combine the two. Typologies and modalities. Christian circles often look to Friedrich Heiler, 1892–1967, whose systematic typology of prayer lists 6 types of prayer: primitive, ritual, Greek cultural, philosophical, mystical, and prophetic. 10. Some forms of prayer require a prior ritualistic form of cleansing or purification, such as in ghusl and wudu. 11. Prayer may occur privately and individually, sometimes called effective prayer. 12. Or corporately in the presence of fellow believers. Prayer can be incorporated into a daily thought life, in which one is in constant communication with a God. Some people pray throughout all that is happening during the day and seek guidance as the day progresses. This is actually regarded as a requirement in several Christian denominations. 13. Although enforcement is not possible nor desirable. There can be many different answers to prayer, just as there are many ways to interpret an answer to a question, if there in fact comes an answer. 13. Some may experience audible, physical, or mental epiphanies. If indeed an answer comes, the time and place it comes is considered, citation needed, random. Some traditions distinguish between contemplative and meditative prayer. 14. Outward acts that may accompany prayer include anointing with oil wink with a frown 15, ringing a bell wink with a frown 16, burning incense or paper wink with a frown 17, lighting a candle or candles, facing a specific direction, example, towards Mecca, 18, or the east, 19, and making the sign of the cross. One less noticeable act related to prayer is fasting. A variety of body postures may be assumed, often with specific meaning, mainly respect or adoration, associated with them: standing, sitting, kneeling, prostrate on the floor, eyes opened, eyes closed, hands folded or clasped, hands upraised, holding hands with others, a laying on of hands and others. Prayers may be recited from memory, read from a book of prayers, or composed spontaneously as they are prayed. They may be said, chanted, or sung. They may or may not have a musical accompaniment. There may be a time of outward silence while prayers are offered mentally. Often, there are prayers to fit specific occasions, such as the blessing of a meal, the birth or death of a loved one, other significant events in the life of a believer, or days of the year that have special religious significance. Details corresponding to specific traditions are outlined below. Anthropologically, the concept of prayer is closely related to that of surrender and supplication. The traditional posture of prayer in medieval Europe is kneeling or supine with clasped hands, in antiquity more typically with raised hands. The early Christian prayer posture was standing, looking up to heaven, with outspread arms and bare head. This is the pre-Christian, pagan prayer posture, except for the bare head, which was prescribed for males in 1 Corinthians 11 verse 4. In Roman paganism, the head had to be covered in prayer. Certain Cretan and Cypriot figures of the late Bronze Age, with arms raised, have been interpreted as worshippers. Their posture is similar to the flight posture, a crouching posture with raised hands related to the universal hands-up gesture of surrender. The kneeling posture with clasped hands appears to have been introduced only with the beginning High Medieval period, presumably adopted from a gesture of feudal homage. 21. Although prayer in its literal sense is not used in animism, communication with the spirit world is vital to the animist way of life. This is usually accomplished through a shaman who, through a trance, gains access to the spirit world and then shows the spirit's thoughts to the people. Other ways to receive messages from the spirits include using astrology or contemplating fortune tellers and healers. 22. Some of the oldest extant literature, such as the Kesh Temple hymn, c. 26th century BC, is liturgy addressed to deities and thus technically prayer. The Egyptian pyramid texts of about the same period similarly contain spells or incantations addressed to the gods. In the loosest sense, in the form of magical thinking combined with animism, prayer has been argued as representing a human cultural universal, which would have been present since the emergence of behavioral modernity, by anthropologists such as Sir Edward Burnett Tylor and Sir James George Fraser. 23. Reliable records are available for the polytheistic religions of the Iron Age, most notably ancient Greek religion, which strongly influenced Roman religion. These religious traditions were direct developments of the earlier Bronze Age religions. Ceremonial prayer was highly formulaic and ritualized. 24, 25. In ancient polytheism, ancestor worship is indistinguishable from theistic worship, see also euhemerism. Vestiges of ancestor worship persist, to a greater or lesser extent, in modern religious traditions throughout the world, most notably in Japanese Shinto, Vietnamese folk religion, and Chinese folk religion. The practices involved in Shinto prayer are heavily influenced by Buddhism. Japanese Buddhism has also been strongly influenced by Shinto in turn. Shinto prayers quite frequently consist of wishes or favors asked of the kami, rather than lengthy praises or devotions. The practice of votive offering is universal and is attested at least since the Bronze Age. In Shinto, this takes the form of a small wooden tablet, called an emma. Prayers in Etruscan were used in the Roman world by augurs and other oracles long after Etruscan became a dead language. The Carmen Arvale and the Carmen Saliere are two specimens of partially preserved prayers that seem to have been unintelligible to their scribes and whose language is full of archaisms and difficult passages. 26. Roman prayers and sacrifices were envisioned as legal bargains between deity and worshipper. The Roman principle was expressed as diutida, I give, so that you may give. Cato the Elder's treatise on agriculture contains many examples of preserved traditional prayers, In one, a farmer addresses the unknown deity of a possibly sacred grove, and sacrifices a pig in order to placate the god or goddess of the place and beseech his or her permission to cut down some trees from the grove. 27. The Valkyrie Sigurdrifa says a pagan Norse prayer in Sigurdrifumal, illustration by Arthur Rackham. Celtic, Germanic and Slavic religions are recorded much later, and much more fragmentarily, than the religions of classical antiquity. They nevertheless show substantial parallels to the better attested religions of the Iron Age. In the case of Germanic religion, the practice of prayer is reliably attested, but no actual liturgy is recorded from the early, Roman era, period. An Old Norse prayer is on record in the form of a dramatization in skaldic poetry. This prayer is recorded in stanzas 2 and 3 of the poem Sigurdrifumal, compiled in the 13th century Poetic Edda from earlier traditional sources, where the Valkyrie Sigurdrifa prays to the gods and the earth after being woken by the hero Sigurd. 28. A prayer to Odin is mentioned in chapter 2 of the Volsunga saga, where King Rerir prays for a child. In stanza 9 of the poem Odrunargræðr, a prayer is made to kind wights, Frigg and Freya, and many gods. 29. In chapter 21 of Jomsvikinga saga, wishing to turn the tide of the Battle of Hjörungavágr, Håkon Sigurdsson eventually finds his prayers answered by the goddesses Orger Helgabr and Erpa. 30. Folk religion in the medieval period produced syncretisms between pre-Christian and Christian traditions. An example is the 11th century Anglo-Saxon charm Iserbot for the fertility of crops and land, or the medical Weferstus. 31. The 8th century Wesabrunn prayer has been proposed as a Christianized pagan prayer and compared to the pagan Voluspa. 32. And the Merseburg incantations, the latter recorded in the 9th or 10th century but of much older traditional origins. 33. In Australian Aboriginal mythology, prayers to the Great Wit are performed by the clever men and clever women, or kaji. Citation needed. These Aboriginal shamans use mabon or mabane, the material that is believed to give them their powers. 34. The Pueblo Indians are known to have used prayer sticks, that is, sticks with feathers attached as supplicatory offerings. The Hopi Indians used prayer sticks as well, but they attached to it a small bag of sacred meal. 35. Approaches to prayer. Direct petitions. There are different forms of prayer. One of them is to directly appeal to a deity to grant one's requests. 36. Some have termed this as the social approach to prayer. 37. Atheist arguments against prayer are mostly directed against petitionary prayer in particular. Daniel Dennett argued that petitionary prayer might have the undesirable psychological effect of relieving a person of the need to take active measures. 38. This potential drawback manifests in extreme forms in such cases as Christian Scientists who rely on prayers instead of seeking medical treatment for family members for easily curable conditions which later result in death. 39. Christopher Hitchens, 2012, argued that praying to a God which is omnipotent and all-knowing would be presumptuous. For example, he interprets Ambrose Bierce's definition of prayer by stating that the man who prays is the one who thinks that God has arranged matters all wrong, but who also thinks that he can instruct God how to put them right. 40. Educational approach. In this view, prayer is not a conversation. Rather, it is meant to inculcate certain attitudes in the one who prays, but not to influence. Among Jews, this has been the approach of Rabban Abachia, Rabbi Yehuda Halevi, Joseph Albo, Samson Raphael Hirsch, and Joseph B. Soloveitchik. This view is expressed by Rabbi Nosson Sherman in the overview to the Art Scroll Siddur, page 13. Among Christian theologians, E. M. Bounds stated the educational purpose of prayer in every chapter of his book, The Necessity of Prayer. Prayer books such as the Book of Common Prayer are both a result of this approach and an exhortation to keep it. 41. Rationalist approach. In this view, the ultimate goal of prayer is to help train a person to focus on divinity through philosophy and intellectual contemplation, meditation. This approach was taken by the Jewish scholar and philosopher Maimonides, 42, and the other medieval rationalists, 43. It became popular in Jewish, Christian, and Islamic intellectual circles, but never became the most popular understanding of prayer among the laity in any of these faiths. In all three of these faiths today, a significant minority of people still hold to this approach. In a rationalist approach, praying encompasses three aspects. First, logos, as the idea of the sender, secondly remitta as the words to express the idea, and thirdly remitta and logos, to where the idea is sent, e.g. to God, Allah. Thus praying is not a conversation with God, or Jesus but a one-way direction to the divine. 44. Among the Abrahamic religions, Islam, Orthodox Christianity, and Hasidic Judaism are likely most adhering to this concept, also because it does not allow secondary mythologies, and has taken its spiritual roots from Hellenistic philosophy, particularly from Aristotle. 45. Similarly in Hinduism, the different divinities are manifestations of one god with associated prayers. However, many Indians, particularly Hindus, believe that God can be manifest in people, including in people of lower castes, such as sadhus. 46. Experiential approach. Old Woman Praying by Theophile Leibart. In this approach, the purpose of prayer is to enable the person praying to gain a direct experience of the recipient of the prayer, or as close to direct as a specific theology permits. This approach is very significant in Christianity and widespread in Judaism, although less popular theologically. In Eastern Orthodoxy, this approach is known as hesychasm. It is also widespread in Sufi Islam, and in some forms of mysticism. It has some similarities with the rationalist approach, since it can also involve contemplation, although the contemplation is not generally viewed as being as rational or intellectual. Christian and Roman Catholic traditions also include an experiential approach to prayer within the practice of Lectio Divina. Historically, a Benedictine practice, Lectio Divina, involves the following steps. A short scripture passage is read aloud. The passage is meditated upon using the mind to place the listener within a relationship or dialogue with the text, recitation of a prayer, and concludes with contemplation. The Catechism of the Catholic Church describes prayer and meditation as follows. Frowny face 47. Meditation engages thought, imagination, emotion, and desire. This mobilization of faculties is necessary in order to deepen our convictions of faith, prompt the conversion of our heart, and strengthen our will to follow Christ. Christian prayer tries above all to meditate on the mysteries of Christ, as in Lectio Divina or the Rosary. This form of prayerful reflection is of great value, but Christian prayer should go further, to the knowledge of the love of the Lord Jesus, to union with Him. The experience of God within Christian mysticism has been contrasted with the concept of experiential religion or mystical experience because of a long history or authors living and writing about experience with the divine in a manner that identifies God as unknowable and ineffable. The language of such ideas could be characterized paradoxically as experiential, as well as without the phenomena of experience. 48. The notion of religious experience can be traced back to William James, who used a term called religious experience in his book, The Varieties of Religious Experience. 49. Citation not found. The origins of the use of this term can be dated further back. In the 18th, 19th, and 20th centuries, several historical figures put forth very influential views that religion and its beliefs can be grounded in experience itself. While Kant held that moral experience justified religious beliefs, John Wesley, in addition to stressing individual moral exertion, thought that the religious experiences in the Methodist movement, paralleling the Romantic movement, were foundational to religious commitment as a way of life. 50. According to Catholic doctrine, Methodists lack a ritualistic and rational approach to praying but rely on individualistic and moralistic forms of worship in direct conversation with God. This approach is rejected by most Orthodox religions. 51. Wayne Proudfoot traces the roots of the notion of religious experience to the German theologian Friedrich Schleiermacher, 1768–1834, who argued that religion is based on a feeling of the infinite. The notion of religious experience was used by Schleiermacher and Albert Ritschl to defend religion against the growing scientific and secular critique, and defend the view that human, moral and religious, experience justifies religious beliefs. Such religious empiricism would be later seen as highly problematic and was, during the period in between world wars, famously rejected by Karl Barth. 52. In the 20th century, religious as well as moral experience as justification for religious beliefs still hold sway. Some influential modern scholars holding this liberal theological view are Charles Raven and the Oxford physicist/theologian Charles Colson. 53. The notion of religious experience was adopted by many scholars of religion, of whom William James was the most influential. 54a. The notion of experience has been criticized. 59. 60. Citation not found. 61. Citation not found. Robert Scharf points out that experience is a typical Western term, which has found its way into Asian religiosity via Western influences. 62b. The notion of experience introduces a false notion of duality between experiencer and experienced, Whereas the essence of Kensho is the realization of the non-duality of observer and observed. 63, citation not found. 64, citation not found. Pure experience does not exist, all experience is mediated by intellectual and cognitive activity. 65, citation not found. 66, citation not found. The specific teachings and practices of a specific tradition may even determine what experience someone has, which means that this experience is not the proof of the teaching, but a result of the teaching. 67, citation not found. A pure consciousness without concepts, reached by cleaning the doors of perception, c, would be an overwhelming chaos of sensory input without coherence. 69, citation not found. Abrahamic religions. Hebrew Bible. Main article, Prayer in the Hebrew Bible. David prays for deliverance, 1860 woodcut by Julius Schnorr von Karelsfeld. In the Hebrew Bible, prayer is an evolving means of interacting with God, most frequently through a spontaneous, individual, unorganized form of petitioning and/or thanking. Standardized prayer such as is done today is non-existent, although beginning in Deuteronomy, the Bible lays the groundwork for organized prayer, including basic liturgical guidelines, and by the Bible's later books, prayer has evolved to a more standardized form, although still radically different from the form practiced by modern Jews. Individual prayer is described by the Tanakh two ways. The first of these is when prayer is described as occurring, and a result is achieved, but no further information regarding a person's prayer is given. In these instances, such as with Isaac, 70, Moses, 71, Samuel, 72, and Job, 73, the act of praying is a method of changing a situation for the better. The second way in which prayer is depicted is through fully fleshed out episodes of prayer, where a person's prayer is related in full. Many famous biblical personalities have such a prayer, including every major character from Hannah to Hezekiah. 74. New Testament. Main article, Prayer in the New Testament. In the New Testament, prayer is presented as a positive command. 75. The people of God are challenged to include Christian prayer in their everyday life, even in the busy struggles of marriage. 76, as it brings people closer to God. Jesus encouraged his disciples to pray in secret in their private rooms, using the Lord's Prayer, as a humble response to the prayer of the Pharisees, whose practices in prayer were regarded as impious by the New Testament writers. 77. For evangelists and other Christian sects, prayer is shown to be God's appointed method by which we obtain what he has to bestow. 78. Further, the book of James says that the lack of blessings in life results from a failure to pray. 79. Jesus healed through prayer and expected his followers to do so also. 80. The Apostle Paul wrote to the churches of Thessalonica to pray continually. 81. Judaism. Main article, Jewish prayer. Captain Samuel Cass, a rabbi, conducting the first prayer service celebrated on German territory by Jewish personnel of the 1st Canadian Army near Cleve, Germany, March 18, 1945. Observant Jews pray 3 times a day, Shasharit, Mincha, and Ma'ariv, with lengthier prayers on special days, such as the Shabbat and Jewish holidays including Musaf and the reading of the Torah. The Siddur is the prayer book used by Jews all over the world, containing a set order of daily prayers. Jewish prayer is usually described as having 2 aspects, kavana, intention, and kiva, the ritualistic, structured elements. The most important Jewish prayers are the Shema Yisrael, Hear O Israel, and the Amidah, the standing prayer. Communal prayer is preferred over solitary prayer, and a quorum of 10 adult males, a minyan, is considered by Orthodox Judaism a prerequisite for several communal prayers. Orthodox Jewish men praying in Jerusalem's Western Wall. There are also many other ritualistic prayers a Jew performs during their day, such as washing before eating bread, washing after one wakes up in the morning, and doing grace after meals. Rationalist approach. In this view, the ultimate goal of prayer is to help train a person to focus on divinity through philosophy and intellectual contemplation. This approach was taken by Maimonides and the other medieval rationalists. One example of this approach to prayer is noted by Rabbi Stephen Weil, who was appointed the Orthodox Union's executive vice president in 2009. He notes that the word prayer is a derivative of the Latin precari, which means to beg. The Hebrew equivalent tefillah, however, along with its root pelul or its reflexive el hitpalel, means the act of self-analysis or self-evaluation. 82. This approach is sometimes described as the person praying having a dialogue or conversation with God. 83. Educational approach. In this view, prayer is not a conversation. Rather, it is meant to inculcate certain attitudes in the one who prays, but not to influence. This has been the approach of Rabbi Bachia, Yehuda Halevi, Joseph Albo, Samson Raphael Hirsch, and Joseph Dov Soloveitchik. This view is expressed by Rabbi Nosson Sherman in the overview to the Art Scroll Siddur, page 13. Note that Sherman goes on to also affirm the Kabbalistic view, see below. Kabbalistic approach. Kabbalah uses a series of kavanot, directions of intent, to specify the path the prayer ascends in the dialogue with God, to increase its chances of being answered favorably. Kabbalists ascribe a higher meaning to the purpose of prayer, which is no less than affecting the very fabric of reality itself, restructuring and repairing the universe in a real fashion. In this view, every word of every prayer, and indeed, even every letter of every word, has a precise meaning and a precise effect. Prayers thus literally affect the mystical forces of the universe, and repair the fabric of creation. 84. Among Jews, this approach has been taken by the Hasidiyai Ashkenaz, German pietists of the Middle Ages, the Arizals Kabbalist tradition, Ramkel, most of Hasidism, the Vilna Gaon, and Jacob Emden. Christianity. Main articles, Christian prayer and Christian worship. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come. Your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. And forgive us our debts, as we also have forgiven our debtors. And do not bring us to the time of trial, but rescue us from the evil one. Known as the Lord's Prayer. 85. Jesus praying in Gethsemane. Depicted by Heinrich Hoffmann. Christian prayers are quite varied. They can be completely spontaneous, or read entirely from a text, like the Anglican Book of Common Prayer. The most common prayer among Christians is the Lord's Prayer, which according to the Gospel accounts, e.g. Matthew 6 verses 9 to 13, is how Jesus taught his disciples to pray. 86. The Lord's Prayer is a model for prayers of adoration, confession and petition in Christianity. 86. In the 2nd century apostolic tradition, Hippolytus instructed Christians to pray at 7 fixed prayer times, on rising, at the lighting of the evening lamp, at bedtime, at midnight and the 3rd, 6th and 9th hours of the day, being hours associated with Christ's Passion. 87. 88. Breviaries such as the Shehimo and Agpia are used by Oriental Orthodox Christians to pray these 7 canonical hours while facing in the eastward direction of prayer. 89. 90. In medieval England, prayers, particularly the Paternoster, were frequently used as a measure of time in medical and culinary recipe books. 91. Christians generally pray to God. Some Christians, such as Catholics, Lutherans, Orthodox, and Methodists pray for the dead. Wink with a frown. 92. 93. Roman Catholics will also ask the righteous in heaven and in Christ, such as the Virgin Mary or other saints, to intercede by praying on their behalf. Intercession of saints. Formulaic closures in many Christian denominations, such as Lutheranism and Catholicism, include through our Lord Jesus Christ, your Son, who lives and reigns with you, in the unity of the Holy Spirit, God, through all the ages of ages, and in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. 94. It is customary among Christians to end prayers with "in Jesus' name, Amen," or more commonly, with the sign of the cross while saying the Trinitarian formula. 94. 95. The most commonly used closure of prayer in Christianity is Amen, from a Hebrew adverb used as a statement of affirmation or agreement, usually translated as "so be it." In the Latin Church of the Catholic Church, probably the most common is the Rosary. In the Eastern Christianity, including the Eastern Catholic Churches of the Catholic Church and Eastern Orthodox Church, the Jesus Prayer. The Jesus Prayer is also often repeated as part of the meditative hesychasm practice in Eastern Christianity. 96. Latin Catholic tradition includes specific prayers and devotions as acts of reparation which do not involve a petition for a living or deceased beneficiary, but aim to repair the sins of others, e.g. for the repair of the sin of blasphemy performed by others. 97. Bahá'í Faith. Main article, Prayer in the Bahá'í Faith. Baha'u'llah, the Bab, and Abdul Baha wrote many prayers for general use, and some for specific occasions, including for unity, detachment, spiritual upliftment, and healing among others. Followers of the Bahá'í Faith are also required to recite each day one of 3 obligatory prayers composed by Baha'u'llah. The believers have been enjoined to face in the direction of the Qibla when reciting their obligatory prayer. The longest obligatory prayer may be recited at any time during the day. Another, of medium length, is recited once in the morning, once at midday, and once in the evening, and the shortest can be recited any time between noon and sunset. Baha is also read from and meditate on the scriptures every morning and evening. 117. Baptism. Main article, John the Baptist. Baptists, not to be confused with the Protestant Christian denomination of Baptists, and their prayers play a special role in Christianity, and represent the more theologic and rational approach to Christian praying. John the Baptist was a scholar of the original Hebrew scrolls and was likely exposed to Hellenistic philosophy. Baptism is a Hebraic rite of purification that preceded John the Baptist. He is a subject mentioned in the Quran and is thus accepted in Islam and Orthodox religions. Modern Baptists also practice social representation, e.g. work, or altruistic activities, as a form of prayer. In essence, it can be said that Baptists are socialized Christians that themselves accept the Quran and the practice of Muslim prayers. Islam has preserved the tradition of baptizing in the form of ablution and ritual ghusl for purification purposes. 118, 119. Eastern religions. Further information, Eastern religions, meditation, and mantra. In both Buddhism and Hinduism, the repetition of mantras is closely related to the practice of repetitive prayer in Western religion, rosary, Jesus prayer, but Buddhists do not pray to a higher deity. Many of the most widespread Hindu and Buddhist mantras are in origin invocations of deities, e.g. Gayatri mantra dedicated to Savitar, Pavamana mantra to Soma Pavamana, and many of the Buddhist draw originate as recitations of lists of names or attributes of deities. Most of the shorter Buddhist mantras originate as the invocation of the name of a specific deity or bodhisattva, such as Om Mani Padme Hum being in origin the invocation of a bodhisattva called May Padma. However, from an early time these mantras were interpreted in the context of mystical sound symbolism. The most extreme example of this is the Om syllable, which as early as in the Aitareya Brahmana was claimed as equivalent to the entire Vedas, collection of ritual hymns. 120. Buddhism. Buddhists praying with incense at Wat Phra Kaew, Thailand. In the earliest Buddhist tradition, the Theravada, and in the later Mahayana tradition of Zen, or Chan, prayer plays only an ancillary role. It is largely a ritual expression of wishes for success in the practice and in helping all beings. 121, need quotation to verify. The skillful means, Sanskrit, upaya, of the transfer of merit, Sanskrit, pariman, is an evocation and prayer. Moreover, indeterminate Buddhas are available for intercession as they reside in awoken fields, Sanskrit, Buddhakshetra. The nirmanakya of an awoken field is what is generally known and understood as a mandala. The opening and closing of the ring, Sanskrit, mala, is an active prayer. An active prayer is a mindful activity, an activity in which mindfulness is not just cultivated but is. 122, a common prayer is may the merit of my practice, adorn Buddha's pure lands, requite the fourfold kindness from above, and relieve the suffering of the three life journeys below. Universally wishing sentient beings, friends, foes, and karmic creditors, all to activate the Bodhi mind, and all to be reborn in the pure land of ultimate bliss. 123. The generation stage, Sanskrit, a padikrama, of Vajrayana involves prayer elements. 124. The Tibetan Buddhism tradition emphasizes an instructive and devotional relationship to a guru. This may involve devotional practices known as guru yoga which are congruent with prayer. It also appears that Tibetan Buddhism posits the existence of various deities, but the peak view of the tradition is that the deities or yidam are no more existent or real than the continuity, Sanskrit, Santana, refer mind stream, of the practitioner, environment and activity. But how practitioners engage yidam or tutelary deities will depend upon the level or more appropriately jhana at which they are practicing. At one level, one may pray to a deity for protection or assistance, taking a more subordinate role. At another level, one may invoke the deity, on a more equal footing. And at a higher level one may deliberately cultivate the idea that one has become the deity, whilst remaining aware that it's ultimate. Pure Land Buddhism emphasizes the recitation by devotees of prayer-like mantras, a practice often called Nembutsu. 125, 190. On one level it is said that reciting these mantras can ensure rebirth into a Sambhogakaya land, Sanskrit, Buddhakshetra, after bodily dissolution, a sheer ball spontaneously co-emergent to a Buddha's enlightened intention. According to Shinran, the founder of the Pure Land Buddhism tradition that is most prevalent in the U.S., 125, 193, 126, for the long haul nothing is as efficacious as the Nembutsu. 125, 197, 127, on another, the practice is a form of meditation aimed at achieving realization. 128. But beyond all these practices, the Buddha emphasized the primacy of individual practice and experience. He said that supplication to gods or deities was not necessary. Nevertheless, today many lay people in East Asian countries pray to the Buddha in ways that resemble Western prayer, asking for intervention and offering devotion. Hinduism. Main article, Prayer in Hinduism. Shakta Hindus in Dhaka, Bangladesh, pray to the goddess during Durga Puja. October 2003. Hinduism has incorporated many kinds of prayer, Sanskrit, prarthana, from fire-based rituals to philosophical musings. While chanting involves by dictum recitation of timeless verses or verses with timings and notations, dhyana involves deep meditation, however short or long, on the preferred deity/god. Again, the object to which prayers are offered could be a person's referred as devtas, trinity or incarnation of either devtas or trinity, or simply plain formless meditation as practiced by the ancient sages. These prayers can be directed to fulfilling personal needs or deep spiritual enlightenment, and also for the benefit of others. Ritual invocation was part and parcel of the Vedic religion and as such permeated their sacred texts. Indeed, the highest sacred texts of the Hindus, the Vedas, are a large collection of mantras and prayer rituals. Classical Hinduism came to focus on extolling a single supreme force, Brahman, that is made manifest in several lower forms as the familiar gods of the Hindu pantheon. Dubious, discuss. Hindus in India have numerous devotional movements. Hindus may pray to the highest absolute god Brahman, or more commonly to its three manifestations, a creator god called Brahma, a preserver god called Vishnu, and a destroyer god, so that the creation cycle can start afresh, Shiva, and at the next level to Vishnu's avatars, earthly appearances, Rama and Krishna, or to many other male or female deities. Typically, Hindus pray with their hands, the palms, joined in pranam. 129. The hand gesture is similar to the popular Indian greeting Namaste. Sikhism. The Ardas, Punjabi, is a Sikh prayer that is done before performing or after undertaking any significant task, after reciting the daily banis, prayers, or completion of a service like the path, scripture reading/recitation, kirtan, hymn singing, program, or any other religious program. In Sikhism, these prayers are also said before and after eating. The prayer is a plea to God to support and help the devotee with whatever he or she is about to undertake or has done. The ardas is usually always done standing up with folded hands. The beginning of the ardas is strictly set by the 10th Sikh Guru, Guru Gobind Singh. When it comes to conclusion of this prayer, the devotee uses words like Waheguru, please bless me in the task that I am about to undertake. When starting a new task, or Akal Purak, having completed the hymn singing, we ask for your continued blessings so that we can continue with your memory and remember you at all times, etc. The word ardas is derived from Persian word arazdashat, meaning a request, supplication, prayer, petition, or an address to a superior authority. Ardas is a unique prayer based on the fact that it is one of the few well-known prayers in the Sikh religion that was not written in its entirety by the Gurus. The ardas cannot be found within the pages of the Guru Granth Sahib because it is a continually changing devotional text that has evolved over time in order for it to encompass the feats, accomplishments, and feelings of all generations of Sikhs within its lines. Taking the various derivation of the word ardas into account, the basic purpose of this prayer is an appeal to Waheguru for his protection and care, as well as being a plea for the welfare and prosperity of all mankind, and a means for the Sikhs to thank Waheguru for all that he has done. 130, 131. Iranian religions. Zoroastrianism. Main article, Zoroastrian prayer. Zoroastrians are not fire worshippers, as some Westerners wrongly believe. Zoroastrians believe that the elements are pure and that fire represents God's light or wisdom. 132. Zoroastrian worship practices have evolved from ancient times to the present day. Over time, Zoroastrians developed the concept of worshipping in temples, sometimes called fire temples. 133. New religious movements. Wiccan prayers can include meditation, rituals, and incantations. Wiccans see prayers as a form of communication with the god and goddess. Such communication may include prayers for Esbat and Sabbat celebrations, for dinner, for pre-dawn times, or for one's own or others' safety, for healing, or for the dead. 134. In realism, rites and practices vary from initiation ceremonies to sensual meditation. An initiation ceremony usually involves a Raelian putting water on the forehead of a new member. Such ceremonies take place on certain special days on the Raelian calendar. 135. Sensual meditation techniques include breathing exercises and various forms of erotic meditation. 136. In Ikankar, one of the basic forms of prayer includes singing the word Hu, pronounced as Hu, a holy name of God. Sikhists may do this with eyes closed or open, aloud or silently. Practitioners may experience the divine ECK or Holy Spirit. 137. Practitioners of theurgy and Western esotericism may practice a form of ritual which uses both pre-sanctioned prayers and names of God, and prayers from the heart that, when combined, allow the participant to ascend spiritually, and in some instances, induce a trance in which God or other spiritual beings may be realized. Very much as in Hermetic Kabbalah and Orthodox Kabbalah, it is believed that prayer can influence both the physical and non-physical worlds. The use of ritualistic signs and names are believed to be archetypes in which the subconscious may take form as the inner God, or another spiritual being, and the prayer from the heart to be that spiritual force speaking through the participant. Many Thelemites recite Resh, Liber Resh Vel Helios, or Liber Cc, facing the direction of the ever-present sun as it rises in the east, triumphs in the northern hemisphere, south, sets in the west, and hides in the north. Image shows a close-up of the stele of revealing. In Thelema, which includes both theist as well as atheist practitioners, adherents share a number of practices that are forms of individual prayer, including basic yoga, asana and pranayama, various forms of ritual magic, rituals of one's own devising, often based upon a syncretism of religions, or Western esotericism, such as the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram and star ruby, and performance of Liber Resh Vel Helios, aka Liber 200, which consists of 4 daily adorations to the sun, often consisting of 4 hand/body positions and recitation of a memorized song, normally spoken, addressing different god forms identified with the sun. 138. While no dogma within Thelema expresses the purpose behind any individual aspirant who chooses to perform Resh, note that the practice of Resh is not a simple petition toward the sun, nor a form of worshipping the celestial body that we call the sun, but instead uses the positioning of that source of light, which enables life on our planet, as well as using mythological images of that solar force, so that the individual can perform the prayer, possibly furthering a self-identification with the sun, so that repeated application of the Liber Resh adorations expands the consciousness of the individual by compelling him to take a different perspective, by inducing him to look at things from the point of view of the sun. 139. Prayer healing. Main article, Faith healing. Prayer is often used as a means of faith healing in an attempt to use religious or spiritual means to prevent illness, cure disease, or improve health. Scientific studies regarding the use of prayer have mostly concentrated on its effect on the healing of sick or injured people. Meta-studies have been performed showing evidence only for no effect or a potentially small effect. For instance, a 2006 meta-analysis on 14 studies concluded that there is no discernible effect, while a 2007 systemic review of studies on intercessory prayer reported inconclusive results, noting that 7 of 17 studies had small, but significant, effect sizes, but the review noted that the most methodologically rigorous studies failed to produce significant findings. 141. Some studies have indicated increased medical complications in groups receiving prayer over those without. 142. 143. The efficacy of petition in prayer for physical healing to a deity has been evaluated in numerous other studies, with contradictory results. 144. 145, 146, 147. There has been some criticism of the way the studies were conducted. 143, 148. Some attempt to heal by prayer, mental practices, spiritual insights, or other techniques, claiming they can summon divine or supernatural intervention on behalf of the ill. Others advocate that ill people may achieve healing through prayer performed by themselves. 149. According to the varied beliefs of those who practice it, faith healing may be said to afford gradual relief from pain. 150, or sickness, or to bring about a sudden miracle cure, and it may be used in place of, or in tandem with, conventional medical techniques for alleviating or curing diseases. Faith healing has been criticized on the grounds that those who use it may delay seeking potentially curative conventional medical care. This is particularly problematic when parents use faith healing techniques on children. Efficacy of prayer healing. Main article, Efficacy of prayer. To pray over an individual while laying hands on them is a form of faith healing in Christianity. In 1872, Francis Galton conducted a famous statistical experiment to determine whether prayer had a physical effect on the external environment. Galton hypothesized that if prayer was effective, members of the British royal family would live longer, given that thousands prayed for their well-being every Sunday. He therefore compared longevity in the British royal family with that of the general population, and found no difference, 144, while the experiment was probably intended to satirize, and suffered from a number of confounders, it set the precedent for a number of different studies, the results of which are contradictory. 2 studies claimed that patients who are being prayed for recover more quickly or more frequently, although critics have claimed that the methodology of such studies are flawed, and the perceived effect disappears when controls are tightened. 151, one such study, with a double-blind design and about 500 subjects per group, was published in 1988. It suggested that intercessory prayer by born-again Christians had a statistically significant positive effect on a coronary care unit population, 145. Critics contend that there were severe methodological problems with this study, 148. Another such study was reported by Harris et al., 146. Critics also claim that the 1988 study was not fully double-blinded, and that in the Harris study, patients actually had a longer hospital stay in the prayer group. If one discounts the patients in both groups who left before prayers began, 152, although the Harris study did demonstrate the prayed for patients on average received lower course scores, indicating better recovery. One of the largest randomized, blind clinical trials was a remote retroactive intercessory prayer study conducted in Israel by Leibovicai. This study used 3,393 patient records from 1990 to 1996, and blindly assigned some of these to an intercessory prayer group. The prayer group had shorter hospital stays and duration of fever, 153. Several studies of prayer effectiveness have yielded null results, 147. A 2001 double-blind study of the Mayo Clinic found no significant difference in the recovery rates between people who were, unbeknownst to them, assigned to a group that prayed for them and those who were not, 154. Similarly, the Mantra study conducted by Duke University found no differences in outcome of cardiac procedures as a result of prayer, 155. In another similar study published in the American Heart Journal in 2006. 143. Christian intercessory prayer when reading a scripted prayer was found to have no effect on the recovery of heart surgery patients. However, the study found patients who had knowledge of receiving prayer had slightly higher instances of complications than those who did not know if they were being prayed for or those who did not receive prayer. 142. 143. Another 2006 study suggested that prayer actually had a significant negative effect on the recovery of cardiac bypass patients, resulting in more frequent deaths and slower recovery time for those patients who received prayers. 143. Many believe that prayer can aid in recovery, not due to divine influence but due to psychological and physical benefits. It has also been suggested that if a person knows that he or she is being prayed for, it can be uplifting and increase morale, thus aiding recovery. See subject expectancy effect. Many studies have suggested that prayer can reduce physical stress, regardless of the god or gods a person prays to, and this may be true for many worldly reasons. According to a study by Centra State Hospital, the psychological benefits of prayer may help reduce stress and anxiety, promote a more positive outlook, and strengthen the will to live. 156. Other practices such as yoga, tai chi, and meditation may also have a positive impact on physical and psychological health. Others feel that the concept of conducting prayer experiments reflects a misunderstanding of the purpose of prayer. The previously mentioned study published in the American Heart Journal indicated that some of the intercessors who took part in it complained about the scripted nature of the prayers that were imposed to them. 143, saying that this is not the way they usually conduct prayer. Prior to the start of this study, intercessors reported that they usually receive information about the patient's age, gender, and progress reports on their medical condition, converse with family members or the patient, not by facts from a third party, use individualized prayers of their own choosing, and pray for a variable time period based on patient or family request. One scientific movement attempts to track the physical effects of prayer through neuroscience. Leaders in this movement include Andrew Newberg, an associate professor at the University of Pennsylvania. In Newberg's brain scans, monks, priests, nuns, sisters and gurus alike have exceptionally focused attention and compassion sites. This is a result of the frontal lobe of the brain's engagement. Newberg, 2009. Newberg believes that anybody can connect to the supernatural with practice. Those without religious affiliations benefit from the connection to the metaphysical as well. Newberg also states that further evidence towards humans' need for metaphysical relationships is that as science had increased, spirituality has not decreased. Newberg believes that at the end of the 18th century, when the scientific method began to consume, page needed, the human mind, religion could have vanished. However, 200 years later, the perception of spirituality, in many instances, appears to be gaining in strength. 2009. Newberg's research also provides the connection between prayer and meditation and health. By understanding how the brain works during religious experiences and practices, Newberg's research shows that the brain changes during these practices, allowing an understanding of how religion affects psychological and physical health. 2009. For example, brain activity during meditation indicates that people who frequently practice prayer or meditation experience lower blood pressure, lower heart rates, decreased anxiety, and decreased depression. 157. Another paradigm of research returns to the Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research, 1979 to 2007, which has provided an explanatory model for mind-matter interactions. John and his colleagues explain the local and non-local effects of consciousness by an explanation of the normal pathways through those intentions. Life prayer can change the praying person's emotion and behavior, and anomalous pathways which can affect another one through the unconscious implicit order trajectory via quantum non-locality mechanism. 158. Efficacy of prayer for fertility. One study found that prayer combined with IVF treatment nearly doubled the number of women who were successfully pregnant, and more than doubled the number of successful implantations. 159. But 3 years later it was revealed that the results of the study were fake. 160. Prevalence of prayer for health. Some modalities of alternative medicine employ prayer. A survey released in May 2004, 161, by the National Center for Complementary and Alternative Medicine, part of the National Institutes of Health in the United States, found that in 2002, 43% of Americans pray for their own health, 24% pray for others' health, and 10% participate in a prayer group for their own health. See also: affirmative prayer, Christian contemplation, Christian devotional literature, continual prayer, daily prayer for peace, Ho'oponopono, interior life, Catholic theology, Jewish prayers and blessings, Jewish prayer, list of prayers, magical thinking, Mani Stone, moment of silence, National Day of Prayer, U.S., novena, orans, prayer beads, prayer in LDS theology and practice, prayer in the Catholic Church, prayer in school, prayer wheel, prie-dieu, rosary, shuckling, Tibetan prayer flag. Further reading: Bellarmine, Robert, 1902. 11th Sunday, The Necessity and Proper Method of Prayer. Sermons from the Latins. Benziger Brothers. Bellarmine, Robert, 1847. The Seventh Precept, which is on prayer. The Art of Dying Well. Translated by John Dalton. Richardson and Son. De Harb, Joseph, 1912. Chapter 3, Prayer. A Complete Catechism of the Catholic Religion. Translated by Reverend John Fander. Schwartz, Kerwin and Foss. Horstius, Jacob Merlo, 1877. Colloquy between Christ and Man on the Right Use of Prayer. The Paradise of the Christian Soul. London, Burns and Oates. Ligori, Alphonsus, 1868. Chapter 30, of Prayer. Preparation for Death. Rivingtons. When, John Joseph, 1911. Prayer. In Herbermann, Charles, edition. Catholic Encyclopedia. Volume 12. New York, Robert Appleton Company. Part 4, On Prayer. The Catechism of the Council of Trent. Translated by James Donovan. Lucas Brothers. 1829. Notes. James also gives descriptions of conversion experiences. The Christian model of dramatic conversions, based on the role model of Paul's conversion, may also have served as a model for Western interpretations and expectations regarding enlightenment, similar to Protestant influences on Theravada Buddhism. As described by Carothers, it rests upon the notion of the primacy of religious experiences, preferably spectacular ones, as the origin and legitimation of religious action. But this presupposition has a natural home, not in Buddhism, but in Christian and especially Protestant Christian movements which prescribe a radical conversion. 55. Citation not found. See Sekida for an example of this influence of William James and Christian conversion stories, mentioning Luther. 56. Citation not found, and St. Paul. 57. See also McMahon for the influence of Christian thought on Buddhism. 58. Citation not found. Robert Scharf. He role of experience in the history of Buddhism has been greatly exaggerated in contemporary scholarship. Both historical and ethnographic evidence suggests that the privileging of experience may well be traced to certain 20th-century reform movements, notably those that urge a return to Zazen or Vipassana meditation, and these reforms were profoundly influenced by religious developments in the West. While some adepts may indeed experience altered states in the course of their training, critical analysis shows that such states do not constitute the reference point for the elaborate Buddhist discourse pertaining to the path. William Blake. If the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite. For man has closed himself up, till he sees all things through narrow chinks of his cavern. 68.